Good morning, good evening, or good day. Welcome to the Z to Z podcast, the home for Xbox achievement hunters and gamerscore junkies. I am your host, Brandon Freem, and thank you so much for listening. At Z to Z, we love gaming, and in particular, grabbing achievements and gaining gamerscore. We do the news, reviews, and interviews. If it's about achievements, we'll unlock it. Today's show is all out of sorts. We're mixing things up a bit because we are joined by a very special guest and just can't wait to hear from him. And can you believe that we don't have any knobs and discos? I know, right? The good thing is nothing got broken. The bad news is nobody fixed anything either. You can always find our show notes for this show as well as previous shows on our website, ztz.com. That's ZEDTOZED. This is episode 8. You can also contact us with questions or comments on Twitter at Z2Z or email us directly at contact@z2z.com. Today's show was brought to you by the achievement Center of the Galaxy from the game Elite Dangerous on the Xbox One. Special thank you to Warren oh my god, I'm going to butcher his name, Kazakowicz. You know him as Planting 42. He's the one who nominated this fantastic achievement. The ridiculously detailed and remarkably in-depth space simulator with a heavy emphasis on simulator eschews the traditional hand-holding and lets its players figure out everything along the way. One of the main pillars of this game is the exploration, and the achievement tasks pilots to travel 26,000 light-years to visit a supermassive black hole at the center of Sagittarius A, right in the middle of the universe. You're going to want a good, fast ship with a fantastic jump range, strong frame, and a great fuel scoop. Based on the great TA guide by Lurking Lawyer, he or they averaged 1,000 to 2,000 light years per hour. That makes this scan-heavy grind about 13 of those hours, and that's one way. If you want to reap the rewards from all that exploring, you're going to have to make that return trip as well. Planting happened to be the 9th person on True Achievements to make that trip. I hope you brought me a postcard. Special thanks to developer Frontier Developments and publisher Microsoft Studios for this out-of-this-world spaceship ride. Are we there yet? Thanks again to Warren Planting for that sponsored achievement. If you or any of our fantastic listeners have a suggestion for an achievement sponsor, we've already been getting a bunch of them. We've actually got a backlog now, which is awesome. So just let us know. You can contact us through Facebook, Twitter, like I mentioned, the Twitter handle at Z2Z, ZEDTOZED, email contact@z2z.com. Hell, you can even put your suggestion in an iTunes review. There are so many ways to contact us. But with all that fun stuff out of the way, let's get this show started and introduce my co-host. Today I'm joined by Terrigan, of course. How are you doing, sir?
I'm very good, Brandon. How are you going?
I am doing wonderful, and we alluded to it at the front of the show. Our very special guest, Patrick Macca. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing excellent. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited.
That's wonderful, and I am going to issue a public apology for butchering your name on multiple occasions because I, for some reason, can't pronounce what you distinctly tell me at the start of all your videos.
You know what? It happens. It's one of those things I've gotten used to literally since, childhood. All my teachers butchered it. My whole life I've heard just about every variation of my last name. To be honest, I don't even know what its real pronunciation is because it was never meant to be like a English spoken last name. There was an accent on there, but it was dropped. So honestly, your guess is as good as mine.
Fantastic. You mean like umlauts or like tilde somewhere?
There was a little tail on the first A, and it was pronounced, wait till you get a load of this, Monka. Monka.
Nice.
So that
Monka
actually translates to the word flower in Polish, not the type you pick and plant and garden with, the type you bake with, rather. So you can actually buy me at any Polish supermarket if you so desire. But yeah, that accent got dropped, so now it's Macca, I guess.
Well, I'm totally cool with that. Actually, my neighbor, his last name was Fuchs. They changed that because of, in school it got a little tricky with that hard German, so right. They're now Foxes. So it happens.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I can relate to people mixing up names. People get my name wrong all the time.
Well, because you have a weird first name.
Tarragon? Harrigan? Harry?
Yeah.
No, what? Yeah.
People like to add letters to my name. They see Freeman, they're just like, so Freeman, right? I'm like, no, you're just putting extra letters in there. This isn't alphabet soup here. That it's like Dream, but with an F. There was an article that they did like these word jumbles in the newspaper, and they're like, what's the definition of this word? And my last name happened to be the word. I was like, Freem, wow, that's great. Okay, multiple choice. What is it? And you look through A through D, and the answer ended up being so it's a verb, and it means to roar with reproductive desire.
Wow. Strong name.
So, yep. Don't know where that came from. I'm pretty sure it's German, but apparently there's lots of Freeming in Germany, so I don't know. It is what it is. But enough about me. Let's move the spotlight over to you, Patrick. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself for anyone who doesn't know or hasn't seen any of your guides?
Yeah, my name's Patrick Macca. Some people just know me better off as Macca. I make, now I kind of dabble in a little bit of everything, but I started out making YouTube videos over at my channel, Macca91 Productions. Got to spell that one out, Maka 91 Productions. You can find it at youtube.com/Macca91 Productions, or just search it and maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't, I don't know. I make gaming guides on a broad level. That's a kind of broad terminology. I make achievement guides, trophy guides, collectible guides, walkthroughs, sometimes reviews here and there. I do some kind of spotlight special shows with achievements or about achievements as well in my completed series. I like to dabble in like discussion videos as well. I made recently a video talking about like easy games, hard games, about Hitman being episodic and stuff like that. You'll also find me on twitch.tv/Macca91 Productions, where I stream right now on a regular basis, thanks to all of the people on Patreon for supporting that. That's one of the main reasons I'm actually able to stream there full time now, or, at least semi-regularly. You can also check me out on Twitter at PMacca1991. But most of all, like, you'll see me posting game guides, and they range from a variety of topics to like very specific achievements to something more broader, like how to get a lot of money in Fallout 4, or something just like a full game walkthrough for a game. So it kind of ranges. I kind of change my content based on what I think people want to watch. So if you're into that kind of idea, I don't yell at the screen. I don't try to entertain. I try to be a little bit more of an informer or educator style of video. So if that's your thing, you can check me out.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've already been seeing your Unravel Chapter 1 walkthrough. The game isn't even released yet. And do you ever get to take a break? Do you feel like this immense amount of pressure to get this stuff out there? With is it EA Access you're using?
I am using EA Access. Unfortunately, EA seems to be the only company in the world who thinks I don't deserve review copies for whatever reason, but that's fine. That's their prerogative. I'm using EA Access for that. Do I get time to take a break? Rarely, but it happens. Some parts of the year are a little bit, there's more of a dull than other parts of the year. I had a little bit of time off in January to work on some side stuff. But when you enjoy what you do and when you love what you're doing so much, and all the people in the community are so nice, and for the most part you receive mostly positive comment, it fuels you to work harder. I'm a bit of a workaholic, but that kind of makes me happy too. I'm not the type of workaholic who's always stressed out and completely hates their life. So, I would say I'm a very busy person, but at the same time, I love what I do, and I wouldn't really want to have too much free time because then I wouldn't know what to do with myself,
Absolutely. So I think you had mentioned that you kind of finished up schooling. That is this kind of the direction you want to take your career?
Yeah.
You want to do this more significantly?
As a little bit of backstory and context, I went to school, McMaster University. I did engineering, process automation technology. I was passionate about it, but I wasn't like crazy passionate about it. I was never one of those kids who grew up, said, I want to be a teacher my whole life, and that's what I ended up being. I was always one of those kids who was always on the fence, never really knew what they actually wanted out of life. I remember distinctly in like grade 12, the teacher asked us, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And everyone in the class, you know, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, whatever. And I was literally the only person who just said, you know what, I have no idea what I want to be, but the only thing I know is that I want to be happy. And that's kind of how I ended up here. So I did 4.5 years of like hardcore schooling where I did 120% of a course load, like nonstop. I got through school as fast as I could for as cheap as I could. I went to school and came back home every day. I didn't stay on campus and party. I didn't, that wasn't really for me. While I was in school, I worked either on YouTube or I worked for a pharmaceutical company or I worked for my actual university itself. And I just put a lot of hard work into that. I ended up graduating, which I was super proud of. Even though it wasn't necessarily something I knew I wanted to do with my life, I knew the importance of like just generally getting a good education and learning how to, use whatever knowledge it is that you have to apply it to the real world. And I've always been an autodidact. I think that's the proper terminology. I've always been someone who just seeks, the knowledge and teaches myself whatever it is I need. Same with video editing, photo editing, all that stuff. Like I taught myself a lot of the times. I think the easiest way to do something is to just teach yourself and work hard. But anyways, after I came out of school, I was just completely burnt out. Like I literally couldn't do anything. I had just powered through it and I needed a break. So I decided not to work and I decided not to seek a job right after graduation. But I loved making videos and people were watching them. At some point, it turned into something that made a few dollars here and there. Like it was nothing that anyone would write home about. By no means was it a job. And I just kept pursuing it. It kept growing. And then more people kept watching. And then YouTube started noticing more. And then I started getting network invitations. And game companies started asking me to go to events and stream their game and all this other. And then it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And at some point, I reflected on what I was doing, decided if it made me happy, which it was, decided if it was something that was going somewhere, if I was going to end up at a dead end. And I decided I'm not going to end up at a dead end. And then I decided, if the risk is worth the reward. And I decided that it was. And I haven't looked back. I've been making videos 100% full time. Use that with whatever, dissect that word full time however you want it. For 2 years now. And there's been a lot of struggling. There's been a lot of hard late hours for very little reward, but I'm very happy with where I am now. I'm extremely excited, looking forward. And like I said, I'm happy. And I think that's really important.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. It's funny to hear you say those things. And between Terrigan and I think you've got some kindred spirits here. We followed a very similar path, but we didn't quite get to the point where we're as I'll go ahead and say successful and well known as you and your guides. I mean, we'll get to some of our listener feedback. There's only glowing things people have to say about you, and having used your content in the past, it's remarkably helpful. So we all appreciate that. Yeah.
You know what? Just to add to that, because I feel like you asked this more specific question. I kind of went off on a tangent, which I sometimes do. Kind of where did I start? Like, to bring it even further back from where I started 2 years ago to make it full time. I think my first video upload was in like May 2008. I want to say probably 7 or 8 years ago at this point. And what happened was my friend broke his controller and he didn't know what happened. He didn't know why it happened. I, at that time, had a controller with a similar problem to him, and I decided to fix it. And I made a video of me recording literally a handheld camera in one hand and me fixing controller with my second hand, my dog barking in the background, and me, which I must have been, if it was 2008, I must have been like 16 or 17, talking in like a mumbly voice, just showing my friend, hey, this is how I fixed my controller, try it out, maybe it'll work, so you don't have to buy a new controller. And I uploaded that. And, I shared it with a friend or two here, and then it had 100 views, and I'm like, I don't have 100 friends, right? Then it had 1,000 views, and I'm like, I definitely don't have 1,000 friends. And then it is to this day, it's the worst video I've ever made in my life, but it's a series of two videos that probably have 60 to 80,000 views each. And it's probably
My
more
goodness.
it's probably more dislikes to likes than right now my videos, for the most part, I put a lot of effort into them, and I generally do care about likes and dislikes, and I do take all the comments and everything as constructive criticism. But those videos, I'll be the first one to admit, they were terrible videos. They didn't deserve any type of views. They weren't made to deserve views. You know what I mean?
Right.
From there, that's kind of what happened. And what inspired me was like, my friends just needed help, and I had the equipment to help them. I've always been a people pleaser. Not that I was doing it for them and expecting anything back or anything. I was just like, you know what? There's people who need this achievement. I'm part of the achievement community. I was a part of the achievement community long before I made videos and guides. And I decided, hey, I'm going to show people how to get this guide. This guy named, I want to say his name was Orion. He was the guy who kind of invented video guides. He never went anywhere with it. He was the first person I ever saw make a video showing someone how to do something just for an achievement. And I saw him do that, and that's kind of where I might have gotten some inspiration, and the idea of video guides formed. And I haven't really looked back since. I have an old channel, and then I kind of transitioned into the current channel I'm working on in 2012. My inspiration, I don't know. My inspiration was getting better at videos. It was something I was just passionate about, and helping people in the achievement community was cool. And that's just kind of where it went from, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely, it makes sense. So, you had mentioned achievements. How, what was that initial taste? I mean, I assume, you had mentioned you liked achievements prior to making videos and stuff. Where did you get? Was it, what was your first achievement you popped? And did that start the ball rolling, or did you just gloss over it and just keep playing your game?
Right. So I can't tell you necessarily what my first achievement was, because I played offline for the first 3 or 4 days I had my Xbox 360.
I did too.
It was either Project Gotham Racing, like whatever the first achievement one gets in that game, probably like completing the first race, or it was Perfect Dark Zero, and it was for killing 10 bots in a, online match, aka with AI. It was one of those two achievements. I don't know which one. I didn't really care about achievements for 3 or 4 months. That's not very long, I understand. Most people, can go their whole lives without caring about them. The first time I remember going out of my way to get an achievement was New Year's. The New Year's right after the Xbox 360 came out. I went to a friend's house and brought my 360. It was a top-of-the-line technology. My friend didn't have one. We were bored teenagers. What we're going to do, let's play some Xbox. And I remember being like, hey, do you want to play this, this, or this? And he was like, I don't really care. And I thought, oh, there's those achievements on Need for Speed Most Wanted. And I'm going to try to beat the boss for the big 350-point achievement. And that was probably the first time I played a game, not to just play it, but to get an achievement in it. And I think that's maybe the first time that achievements made an impact on me and actually changed my gaming habits. And I think once you let achievements change your gaming habits is when they start to really, matter to you.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
I was going to say, I think consume you is the word you were looking.
Maybe a little bit.
There's no turning that switch off. That's you flip it on and that's pretty much it. You also had mentioned, you kind of dabble in trophies as well. When did that kind of spurn? You go back and forth quite a bit?
No, I don't. I wouldn't say by any means I'm a trophy hunter. I just like to classify my videos as achievement/trophy guides, just because I play on Xbox One. My preference has always been the Xbox One. Most of my friends are on the Xbox One. When there is a multi-platform game, 99% of the time I'm playing on the Xbox One. But at the same time, I have absolutely no problem with anyone who plays on the PlayStation 4. Whatever you like, and that's cool. So I don't want anyone to ever feel like my videos aren't for them just because they play on a different console. So I've always classified my videos as achievement/trophy guides, because they unlock, they're for the game when it applies. There's a few games I've covered that have been quote unquote exclusives. Rocket League, I really loved Rocket League. I made a Until Dawn review. I made some guides for the Order 1886. By no means am I a trophy hunter, but I do have a listening audience who is interested in trophies. And sometimes when the timing is right and the moons align, I make trophy guides.
That's fantastic. I mean, you're right. There's plenty of third-party games that cross-platform games. There's always a need, and I know I've looked up PlayStation guides for Xbox achievements because the Xbox One's written terribly or something.
Traitor.
So this meteoric rise in popularity. Well, maybe it wasn't that fast, but you keep working at it. You keep churning away. So now I have to assume you've reached some level of that you're happy with how much you've grown.
Right.
How long did it take to kind of build this momentum up? You said it was a slow roll.
It's definitely a slow roll, and it honestly, to me, still feels like a slow roll. Anyone who's known me personally knows I'm still the same person. I, by no means, although sometimes people will say I come across big-headed, maybe it's just I'm passionate sometimes and I, let my emotions get the best of me and I say things in maybe a tone that comes off a little arrogant or something. But by no means do I think I'm successful. Like, define success, right? In my opinion, I think the key to like an actual successful, whatever it is you're trying to attain, I think it's to never settle. Always push for something better, no matter how well you're doing. This is something that a lot of YouTubers do. I personally think it's great advice to never settle, always push for something more and never be happy with where you are, because that's when you stop trying.
And you start to stagnate.
Yeah.
You can take things for granted too easily, I think. And that will lead you to not produce interesting content after a while because people aren't seeing change.
I agree. Getting comfortable is not something you want to do if you're trying to more or less build something for yourself. You don't want to get comfortable, I think, and that's a big key. Always make yourself a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit uneasy, and I think it brings out your best work sometimes.
Well, I have to imagine there's a good deal of practice as well. I mean, you just listening to you carry yourself on a microphone and present yourself. You've got a fair bit of charisma.
Well,
working in your favor.
Yeah, I've always been a talker, though, too. It's not something that I necessarily set out to do. I have actually, people talk about New Year's resolutions all the time. They want to lose weight. They want to whatever. I had the unique resolution of deciding to expand my vocabulary and try to work on conveying my actual thoughts in a better way so that people understand me better. I spent a lot of time trying to do that. Luckily, when I make video guides, I have the luxury of some post-editing magic so that I don't necessarily stutter as much or, use the ums and the ahs. But thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
No, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that. I also did that. I've done that in high school. I ran with a bunch of really smart English major type kids. And so I'd try to use new words to keep up with these guys. And every time they'd be like, yeah, you're using that word wrong. You sound like an idiot. And so it was really a Mr. Miyagi style of teaching. They just beat you down until you get it right. So that's fantastic. And practice makes perfect. So with that being said, all this practice, I assume you've gotten pretty handy with technology in order to get these achievement guides produced. Do you have any tips, anything that you like to use you want to share? Or
no, it's definitely not.
You don't want to give anybody any tricks because of competition.
No, the tricks of the trade. No, that's pretty open. I've actually been meaning to make a full out setup video for the longest time now. But my setup's always changing, and I was like, do I want to make it now and then get something new? And people are going to look back and be like, dude, that's totally the worst thing you could buy. And it's like, no, but wait, I swear I didn't buy it. I have something better. All my setup stuff is actually completely public. If you go to my About page on my YouTube, you can find a link. And on my subreddit there, I have a link to literally every single thing I use. It gets quite extensive. I have a Xbox, a PlayStation, several controllers, and a huge library of games. To obviously facilitate the actual playing of the video games. Then I have a Hauppauge HD PVR 2 as my capture card. I was going to upgrade to an Elgato, but I decided against it because the problem was Elgatos weren't very compatible with streaming apps, but they've made leaps and bounds in some of that technology now, and they work. So I'm not really gonna change from that. It's a decent enough capture card. I have a Blue Yeti microphone, USB microphone. For my face cam, webcam stuff, I have a Logitech C920. It's honestly, what I have is kind of like the YouTube starter kit. A lot of YouTubers have a Blue Yeti microphone and this Logitech C920 HD camera. So yeah, and like you're always trying to upgrade and trying to create a better experience for the people who are, so graciously using their time to watch whatever it is that you made. But with that being said, I also think you can go a long way with the bare essentials. I started out for the longest time using I literally used the built-in speaker in my laptop. Then I upgraded, I'll put that in air quotes, which you can't see. I upgraded to an iPhone headset microphone, like the headphones. And that was like a big step up for me. That was like, whoa, quality just went up. From there, I upgraded to a Blue Snowball, and from there, I upgraded to a Blue Yeti. Same with my cameras. For the longest time, I just used the built-in webcam camera in my laptop, then upgraded. Lighting is the same, all the audio equipment. I literally just splurged a little bit and bought myself a new laptop, but I literally created every single video on Mac 91 Productions up until last month on a literally falling apart, rotting laptop that is so bad it probably can't run some iPhone games at this point, right? And it's fallen apart. It's overheating. The screen has literally fallen apart into pieces. It fell apart into so many pieces that when I close it, the screen won't actually turn off because the sensor part on the front came off. So I finally splurged on a new PC with a battery that actually lasts longer than 6 minutes. And I'm happy with that. But, I may do with what I had for a very, very long time. And I think for people looking to start out, it's more about your passion and what you put in and the effort you put in than it is the equipment you have. A lot of people think I can never get ahead because I don't have X amount of dollars to spend on, $100 microphone and a $50 webcam. How are people ever going to watch me instead of someone else if I have these bad parts? And the thing is, everyone started from somewhere. Every YouTuber you like, if you go to some of their first videos they've ever made, they're probably nothing like the videos of them you're watching. You look at people like PewDiePie, he's at 40 million subscribers, something like that. If you look at his setup, you can literally buy his setup. His rig is pretty beast at this point, but his microphone is $100. His webcam is the same webcam I use. He's not using the crazy of things. He's purchased better things to, for brands that want to pay him a lot of money to advertise something. He has that equipment, but at the same time, the everyday videos that people are watching, they're made with a budget. Like, they're not videos that are, costing thousands of dollars per episode to create by any means.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm gonna lean over to a listener question. This is from Facial LaFleur, and anyone who's watched your videos, there's a distinct laugh that's there, and I know he mentions that there were some submitted laughs, but you don't recall ever switching anything.
Yeah.
Anything you want to mention about that?
So I think I did a special when I reached 50,000 subs. And I asked people to submit their audio for my intro, which was basically them just, pretending to do the intro and doing it in whatever way they wanted to, whatever way they thought was funny. I got a lot of submissions, and I used probably at least 30 of them, I want to say, if not more. And they're there. They exist. The thing is, I don't use them in every video. I use them in a lot of kind of one-off, shorter videos that were a little bit more fun and less, kind of in your face. Rather, I use them in the videos that were a little more in your face and less in the videos that were supposed to be a little bit more serious. I've used a good chunk of them, and what happened was I'm always looking at comments and always using them as constructive criticism. Not everyone necessarily liked them. Most people enjoyed them, but not everyone liked them. And there was also a lot of confusion with people who didn't watch the original video, thinking that the audio that was submitted by people was my new intro, even though there was a giant piece of text on the screen that said this was submitted by whoever it was. So what happened was I was getting some of that feedback. Some people said it was annoying. Some people, didn't really get what was going on, and they weren't necessarily fans of me, but they were just rather viewers of my content. And there is a distinction between those two groups of people, no doubt. And then I changed my intro. I updated the actual graphics behind the audio, and the audio stayed the same. And I knew a lot of people would see the new video and realize it was a new intro. And I was scared that if I used the new video aspect and used audio submitted by viewers, that people would get even more confused and think that was my new intro. So what I did was I took a small break from it. I have all of the clips still saved on my computer, and they will be used one day for sure. I've used probably 30 by now, and I have at least another 30 ready to go.
That's obscene. That's a lot. You should just compile those all into one giant maniacal laugh.
Ooh, that's a fantastic idea. Just do a little montage of all the intros. I actually had some very talented people. Like someone submitted like a SpongeBob and like a Patrick one as Squidward, but he sounded like identical to SpongeBob. Like I couldn't tell the difference. So I actually had like some talented voice people submit theirs in all of the cartoon characters they knew. No, it was a great time. I had a great laugh, and a lot of great people submitted their stuff. A lot of longtime viewers that honestly I remember back in the day when I had less than 5,000 subs. And it's so great to see some of those people still around. It's actually crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, let's kind of go off of that then. Do you know, how much fan interaction do you typically get? I mean, you want to reach out to your subs, you want to engage your community. How has that been for you?
You know what? It goes. There's some people who are definitely just there for videos, and like I have nothing against them. Like, if you're a fan of something, sometimes you're a super fan of something, and sometimes you're just you're indifferent fan. And that's for TV shows you watch. There's certain TV shows, if you heard they got canceled, you'd freak out. But there are certain TV shows you probably watch. If they got canceled, you wouldn't really care. And the same thing happens for YouTube content creators. I definitely have fans who are very excited and love my content and care about me and my life. Whereas if I have other viewers who probably wouldn't care if I got hit by a bus tomorrow. But fan interaction, you know what? It's crazy. When you do YouTube, you try every day to make this number next to your name grow. And these are your subscribers. And that number doesn't really mean anything to you for not that I'm saying it's a meaningless number. It's definitely a number that is a huge thing and you put a lot of value into it. But I'm saying is you don't necessarily realize that each one of those people is an actual person who lives their own life day to day, regardless of whether you exist or not. And I remember the first time I got recognized at an event. I actually got recognized twice at the same event. And I was just like, I don't even know how to handle this. Sometimes I got recognized like a couple times since then. I get recognized in like online matches sometimes, which is just beyond me. If I'm playing Halo or Forza, people will be like, your name is really familiar. Where would I know you from? And then, I don't try to be like, oh, you definitely know me. I just try to drop them that hint. Maybe they watched a video or not. Sometimes I get people who definitely know who I am. I do get a lot of messages on Xbox Live directly to me, and I do reply to every single person who sends me a message as best as I can. But the best place to probably have like a casual interaction with me is on Twitter. I'm on Twitter a lot, and that's probably the best place to ask me a question directly or interact with me directly. It's really hard. YouTube's a great platform to publish your content and have people watch it, but it's not a very great platform to interact on a personal level with any of your viewers. Like the best you're going to get out of that is if you reply to someone's comment in a video or if you just type a reply. On top of that, I'm also doing community events. I've done some open lobbies while streaming and just had people jump in if they were interested. And yeah, that's more or less it. Sometimes people who will win giveaways, I'll interact with them and end up actually becoming friends with them. There's more than one person definitely who has just been a casual listener who is now someone that I play with on a regular basis. So that happens all the time. That's not like, you know what? Everyone's like out there is doing their own thing and everyone's just looking to have a good time. And, the least I could do is interact with the people that are letting me do what I do, right?
Yeah,
do you ever get somebody who if they see you in Halo or whatever and they're like, oh my God, I know that guy. hey, let's go boost something. Come on, hook up. Let's trade kills or something.
That hasn't happened specifically. Actually, earlier this week, I was playing Halo, and my first game I finished up, and I looked at my Twitter in between matches, and someone tweeted me, just got on Halo and got wrecked by you online, and put a picture in there. That was actually hilarious. That was funny. He actually ended up being in the best game I played that day, so it made me look really good.
Right? Yeah, because then the next set of streams is you getting teabagged.
Yeah. So. Unfortunately. But no, and then I do have people who occasionally will message me for boosting. Unfortunately, just due to, the amount of time I put into other things, I don't have time to necessarily help people, especially in older games that I personally have no, interest in playing, or I don't have any achievements to unlock, or I don't boost as much as I did. For sure, I would say that my boosting is basically at a 0. I boost maybe a couple hours a month, if any. So it's, I don't boost definitely with people. And I'm unable to help everyone who messages me, with whether it's Halo on Legendary or whatever it is they're seeking. I try to encourage them to go to a website like True Achievements or like Xbox Achievements, or try to find someone through one of the video comments. There's a lot of people who will post comments with their gamer tags, looking for help down like under the videos too. So I definitely encourage them to look elsewhere for boosting. But it definitely happens. I do get recognized, and it's still crazy to me when I play someone and, I get a tweet that it was someone who knows who I was.
Do you find that making guides and your video work is kind of getting in the way of sort of fully enjoying some games?
Oh, absolutely.
Or missing out on some games completely?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. Like, a lot of times you'll ask a person, how long is this game? And someone will be like 5 hours. To me, that's automatically, okay, it's going to take me between 15 to 20 hours to complete and not even make videos. That's just to complete the game and record everything I need, with all the pauses I take in between recordings and all the research I do in between levels. It probably takes me 3 to 4 times the average person to get through a game if I'm covering it. And sometimes, let's say there is, an achievement for, I don't know, doing something on hard, and then you have to actually beat medium to do it on hard first. Or if there is a game with a lot of collectibles and my main video is a collectibles guide, I will run from collectible to collectible on the easiest difficulty to get my video out faster and to get it out there as early as possible for the people who want to see it. And there are games like Call of Duty Black Ops that I literally played on the easiest difficulty and sprinted through in 6 hours. Don't really know what happened. Didn't really pay attention. Didn't really have a hell of a lot of fun either. So it definitely gets in the way. But it's not necessarily, I'm not complaining. I don't want to come off as complainy either. It definitely does change the way you play, though.
I remember one of your earlier videos this year. I think you were talking about sort of I think it was like a top 10 games of 2015 or something along those lines. And you mentioned that there were a few that didn't make the cut simply because you just hadn't got to play them.
I didn't get to play The Witcher this year, which is 80% of people's favorite game of the year. I decided to wait for some of the DLC to come out and see if it's more tackleable at that point. It's really hard when you have a game like The Witcher that demands 100 hours of you, and then you think if you play 25 hours a week, it's going to take you all month. And it's just not something I can always fit, especially if it doesn't really, The Witcher, I don't think is a game that necessarily needs guides. I think a lot of people are sitting down and enjoying that game by themselves, and that's great. I'm just not able to necessarily, play everything that comes out, especially when there's indie games and there's 9 of them coming out a week, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
right. What is your approach when it comes to games? I mean, do you have a set list of, I'm totally making a guide for this one, or I'm going to play through it and enjoy it, and if there's some content here, I'll take another run at it and put something together. Do you kind of have a preference?
There's usually a lot of pre-planning. Like, for example, Unravel, I literally sat down and wrote a list. I still use pen and paper. It's just easier for me sometimes to visualize. I wrote a list of everything the game you need to do in the game to unlock all the achievements. Before I even started playing it, I was researching all these things and what I'm going to need to cover And going into the game, I already knew exactly what I was looking for, like all the secrets and all the levels and how to complete them without dying. And there's miscellaneous achievements and secrets and other collectibles that will be in there. And I definitely do a lot of pre-planning, a lot of research. I don't really like to go in blind. If I'm going in blind, I'm probably streaming it as a preview or like a first look type game. And I'm probably not making guides for it and not covering it like as a centerpiece on my YouTube channel, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
It's also a lot easier if you go into a game with the right plan. The hour you spent on planning will probably save you 6 hours of game time. Or editing, rather. You don't want to go into a game, like if I were to play Unravel, for example, and get all the secrets, and then have to go back and find the ones I missed and re-record those, you're adding hours of editing, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah. The end result isn't as good as well. I've seen a lot of guides that tend to cut around, or just somebody will get somewhere and meander for a long time, and you sort of going, get on with it, or just cut this bit. So no, I don't generally find that with your guides at all. They're really good.
Yeah. No, that's super appreciative. There's one for Goat Simulator where you're collecting something, and it was like he was all over the place, and I'm like, no, just stay in this one area. I see one over there. Go get that one next.
Right.
Yeah. So I totally appreciate the planning, and it goes a long way. It really helps for the production quality, and it's a very professional thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, it's a balance. It's a balance of being as professional as you can to an extent where you're not killing yourself or producing content at such a slow pace that you'll never, reap any rewards out of it ever.
Yeah. All right. Were there any guides? This is actually a question from Riva Lion. Were there any guides that you kind of gave up on, or you had to stop playing or take a break just due to the game being awful?
I don't think so. I always think that when I start a project, I like to finish it. There's a few games that I definitely didn't get to cover as much as I would have liked to. Like Just Cause, I initially planned to do a lot for that game, but it came out at the same time as Rainbow Six, and unfortunately, that game addicted me to a point where that's all I played for weeks. And that wasn't necessarily a game that you could make a lot of guides for either, Rainbow Six. There's not necessarily ever a time where I've quit. There have been times where I've been crazy frustrated. The one that kind of always sticks out the most for me is Thief, the collectibles in the main city with all the loading screens and how they were set up and how certain parts are only linked to other parts with specific alleys and craziness. It ended up being like a 30-minute video for like 20 collectibles, and it was a pain in the ass to edit, and there was a small mistake, and I had to redo it. And, that's the kind of stuff that'll drive me crazy. But then once it's out, it's super rewarding at the same time. So were there any guides that I gave up on or took a break? I don't think I've given up. There have been maybe guides that weren't necessarily the best work I've ever produced. They were done on a shorter turnaround time. They were done with a little bit of less effort. Just to save time to do something else, not even because I'm lazy. I guess that would be the closest answer I could get. Unless the game's flat out broken like Tony Hawk 5, then that was a game that I simply didn't cover because it was absolute,
disaster.
Yep. And it didn't work. It just simply didn't work.
Have you ever had like when you're going into making your guide and you're like, okay, here we go, set my plan, and there I go. I've satisfied the achievement, and it never toasted.
Yeah,
it's stuck in the done unlocking phase. Have you ever had one of those? Like, oh man, you're killing my video here, buddy.
So there's actually, I'll share a little insider secret.
Ooh,
when you get a review copy of a game. Oftentimes the achievements are basically hidden to the person playing the game. And that's for game companies who don't want certain information about their game to leak. For example, Fallout 4, you couldn't see the achievements until the game launched, even though if you had the game beforehand, you were playing it and you would be unlocking achievements, but none of those achievements were getting tracked on any tracking websites. You couldn't even see the achievements on your own Xbox. That's probably my biggest hurdle right now, is getting games early and not being able to A, see the list, and B, see the achievements unlocking, or check if there's progress being made in any achievement that has progress tracking in it. That's my biggest hurdle right now. I'm working directly with people who can help me on that and kind of work around that based on trophy lists that might leak early and other stuff like that, which kind of comes into the pre-planning phase I was talking about, actually being a lot longer than people might think. And a lot of that time is something like Fallout 4 or Rainbow Six or Guitar Hero Live. Like, I would say 80% of major releases, if you get your hands on them before they're actually officially out, you will not see the achievements. You will not be able to see if they pop, and you won't be able to really do anything with the achievements for a very long time.
That's fascinating. I love that inside baseball type thing. That blows my mind that happens. I love it.
Yep. And they do unlock, though. They actually are unlocking behind the scenes. You're just not seeing it happen. And when they do go live, you actually do have the date on them of when you unlock them. So if you look at something like a lot of people were previewing Halo 5 early, we didn't get achievements until, I want to say, this online servers went online and they let us play multiplayer. But there were some co-op achievements we were doing, and I'm like, I think this worked. I recorded it, but I don't know if it unlocked. And those are the videos that you'll see. Instead of the achievement unlocking, you'll see a picture of the achievement on the screen.
Oh, sure.
And those are the times where I have it. So there's the proof that, it works, but it's not it unlocking on screen. And that's to go around that.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess that kind of explains why some achievement lists pop up very, very early. I noticed that True Achievements picks them up quite early, and I guess that would be because they're handing it out to reviewers and they want those achievements to pop, but other games will wait until the release day before they actually turn on the achievements. So,
some achievement lists will come out with One Track Gamer, whereas some will open up with like 300, and that's usually the ones that are blocked.
Is your guides primarily aimed at achievements and Gamerscore? Do you kind of get sick of Gamerscore, or do you wish you could make guides, or do you make a lot of guides that aren't Gamerscore related?
So I do make a lot of guides that aren't Gamerscore related, and I do that for a lot of reasons. The Gamerscore community is large, but it's not large enough to run a YouTube channel for only hardcore achievement hunters. There's just not enough numbers for how YouTube is designed to run as, like, if you were to try to run a YouTube channel as a business. It's just simply not possible. So you have to get around that by doing things that, two audiences will like. So, for example, if there's an achievement that also unlocks is done by using an Easter egg, or if there's an achievement that also unlocks like a crazy super gadget in Batman or whatever, you have to combine those. So in like a lot of my Halo MCC videos, it was like X achievement guide plus the Scarab Gun Easter egg, so that it would, those are achievement guides. But at the same time, people who are looking for how to find the Scarab Gun are stumbling across my video. And a lot of the times, I'll reference, when you actually listen to the script of the videos, I'll reference the achievement, but not all of my commentary is about the achievement. It's more about what you need to do to accomplish whatever the task is you're trying to do. So if the achievement is get a Scarab Gun, I'm more talking about what it takes to get the Scarab Gun than what it takes to have the achievement unlock. And I'm not doing that even necessarily. It might sound like I'm really dissecting this and taking it super, super crazy seriously, but I think it just comes kind of naturally, and it just kind of makes more sense that way. It lets you reach a bigger audience of people who are looking, at the end of the day, they're all looking for the same thing, but they're using that thing for different purposes.
Sure.
There's a lot of people who are looking for the Scarab Gun because they want to goof around with the Scarab Gun. There's a lot of people who are looking at it because they want to remember what it was like in Halo 2 when they first got it. And then there's people who are literally just trying to unlock the achievement. At the same time, I want the video to be watchable for all those audiences. I don't want to, segregate the audience based on what they're trying to accomplish with the video. For example, one of my most popular videos last year was my Numa guide. And at the end of the day, like, the guide is technically an achievement guide to get you as many achievements as possible. But at the same time, it's just a walkthrough to get through the game, which a lot of people wanted because they didn't necessarily understand some of the puzzles. So it kind of facilitates both of those. Sometimes I make videos that have zero achievement, relatability. Those are usually Easter eggs, kind of like tips and trick videos. Sometimes it's just, a random topic I like talking about. So there's definitely a balance there to be had. And I wouldn't say I get sick of achievements. I don't necessarily have the highest gamer score ever. I'm not able to compete with those who have, crazy gamer score. A lot of the times I get compared against people with huge gamer scores anyways, and people like to ask me, hey, why aren't you scoring 20,000 a month? And, it's just not something that's possible for what I'm trying to accomplish. But I don't get sick of achievements, but I definitely take breaks. Like, I definitely have months where I get 10,000 gamer score, and I definitely have months where I get 1,000. And those are months, like, so far February has been a pretty slow month for me, and the tail end of January has been a pretty slow month for me. And those are because I got addicted to Guitar Hero and Halo 5, and I'm just playing them for fun, and I'm not playing them for achievements, It's definitely a balance, and it's not that I get sick of achievements, but I try to keep my sanity. I try to make videos that are watchable for as many people as possible. And I mean, I think that answers the gist of what you were trying to get out of me.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's interesting you're talking about the different audiences, particularly an audience of achievement hunters in general. Just because we kind of target this podcast more towards achievement hunters and gamer score people. And I think we kind of did that because, I mean, we didn't want to just be another gaming podcast.
Of course. You need to kind of distinguish yourself a little bit.
Yeah, so we kind of found that niche, and I think we're pretty happy in that. It's just interesting, the parallel there.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got some more questions from Mad Eye Padai, who's another Patrick, as it turns out.
Nice.
So you've already pretty much covered the how you got into guides question, so I'll skip that one. But do you have any other sort of friendly banter with other guide makers, like Plasma, I think he says, and who mainly does PS guides, and people like NTA Gaming?
So before you answer that, what I think, this is my vision in my head. I'm thinking of Anchorman anchor battle in the street where all you meet PewDiePie and you meet everybody else who does video content, and you're just battle royale. Am I off base, or
just throw out your mama jokes at each other, right?
Right.
No, actually, I don't really interact with too many guide makers. I don't know who Plasma is, to be honest. NTA Need to Achieve, I think they are. I've talked to them in the past a few times about a lot of stuff, actually. I haven't really, heard from them personally in quite a while. We spoke a lot, probably maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year ago. I've definitely spoken to guide makers. I think when you're both in the same community and you're both doing a lot of the same stuff, I think you end up coming across a lot of each other's work. I think you end up cross-pollinating with a lot of the same people, digesting all of your content. So you do run across them. I don't really have, I wouldn't say that there's anyone in my exact space that I'm like friends with. And that's not really, it's not like I went out and said, I'm never going to be friends with whoever it is because they make videos just like mine. That would be stupid. It's just, it's not happened because I like things to be organic, and it just never happened. I don't know why. It's not like I went out and decided to be friends and it didn't happen, or I decided not to be friends and therefore I'm not friends. It's just something that, I don't know, never happened. But
you guys are all probably so busy
in the community. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I have a lot of friends in the community, a lot of Gamerscore whores, a lot of people. I have a lot of like friends who make YouTube videos, but they have their own styles and they make their own types of videos and they have their own audiences. And I mean, I don't want to give shout outs because I feel like I'm going to miss someone and someone's going to take offense to it. There's a lot of really great YouTubers out there who are all making great content, and it can be digested and ingested by lots of different types of people. I just personally have never ended up friends with any other specifically guide makers.
All right. Well, Padai also said, last thing, Patrick is a sweet name, so good. But other than that, do you go by anything else? Because Mad Eye Padai gets called Paddy 90% of the time. Is that something you can relate to?
I haven't been called Paddy for a while.
Okay.
Maybe in high school a little bit, Patty Cakes. Maybe that was a nickname that I kind of had. Even through high school, though, a lot of people called me by my last name, Macca. I definitely go by Macca a lot now. I don't even know if I respond when people call me Patrick. It's kind of like my mom calls me son, or she calls me in my Polish name, which, I pick up on differently than my English spoken name. I would say that I don't really have many nicknames. People mostly call me Macca, especially in the gaming community. Mm-hmm. In real life, I don't know. Your friends don't necessarily always call you by your first name either, so.
Yeah, it's funny. I always think of Brandon as Frame. He's just Frame.
I mean, the last names are key, and they're so much cooler than first names.
They have the potential to be cooler, but there's some guy out there with an unfortunately terrible last name who doesn't want to use it.
Osweepe. Did you guys ever see that Saturday Night Live sketch at all where he's worried about naming his son, and the guy comes to the door, I got a package here for Mr. Asswipe? He's like, no, it's pronounced Osweepe. Yeah, you don't want to use your last name if it's Osweepe.
Yeah, put some emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Right. Well, Maka, I thank you so much for taking some time speaking with us. This has been a fantastic interview. We appreciate it. I cannot possibly do you justice with plugging all of the amazing content that you have available. So if you wouldn't mind one more time letting our listeners know where we can get and gobble up all this fantastic content.
Yeah, well, I'll start off by saying thank you so much for having me. I had a blast. Hopefully I didn't banter too much or too little, and hopefully I was somewhat engaging and okay to listen to, and it didn't come across too bad. Hopefully you guys enjoyed what I had to say. To find me, you can find me by looking up Maka91 Productions on YouTube. That's probably where most people know me from. You can find me on Twitter by looking that up as well, and it's linked directly to the YouTube channel. I'm a regular on the TXR podcast. We're usually on Monday nights around 11:30 p.m. Eastern-ish. We kind of fluctuate depending on a lot of things right now and interviews and stuff. I'm also stream for myself over at twitch.tv/Maka91 Productions. Yeah, and that's basically it. I mean, if you're like a crazy supporter and it's something that you want to do, I also have a Patreon page, but I highly recommend you first watch the video. There's a few points that I make in the video about my Patreon page that I definitely want you to first listen to before deciding whether or not that's something that's right for you. It's completely voluntary. It doesn't take away, I'm not segregating videos for people. It's truly optional, and if you want to support what I make, and if you want to help me make more of it with better quality, then that's an option for you. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Everything, I try to make everything easy access for everyone who wants to learn more. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.
Well, you're absolutely free to hang out and participate in the rest of the show, but
let's do it.
So if you're going to hang out, let's move into the rest of our show, and we will get into our listener feedback, and there are a ton of questions as well. We're in the social media world that the Z to Z podcast is in, and we want to thank everybody so much for taking the time to tweet to us at Z to Z, to send us messages, iTunes reviews, all that fun stuff. We've got a ton of new followers. We really appreciate that. YouTube is brand new for us. We are starting to post our episodes up on YouTube. So thank you to all those who have subscribed, and to all you retweeters out there for us. We appreciate you guys spreading the word of the show. It's been fantastic. The response is wonderful. So thank you. We got a couple of iTunes reviews that I want to isolate here. Officer Zero said that his review, everything in this show is just the kind of achievement stuff I want to hear about. I really enjoy the hosts and the content of the show. So thank you, Officer Zero. I'm glad that we're providing entertainment that you care for. On the same side, we've got BT7398, same thing, iTunes review. His comment, really great show. Look forward to new shows. And we like making them. So thank you again for taking the time. iTunes is fantastic. It helps us get to a really broad audience. But same thing can be said about YouTube and all the social media tweets that we get. So we've got a ton of feedback, ton of questions. Let's move into the True Achievement private message from Separate Joe. Now, unfortunately, Joe, this is a question that's way better suited for Crandy. So I'm going to save this for next episode. But he is wondering about Games for Windows Live keys. And we had talked about that on the last show, and the ones that are reusable, where you can get some that are kind of more of the skeleton key, can be used in all sorts of different games. So we will bother Crandy with that and get back to you on show number 9. So I hope you stick around and listen. We've got Buck Marley 155 sent a TA message here to you, Terrigan.
Yeah, that was about the tip on getting the Connect to work better by posing questions every time. So he said, just wanted to thank you for that tip. Since the tip, I've gotten the Connect to work first time every time instead of saying the same phrase over and over. So that's good because that's the idea of it. He also had a little tip to share regarding the Hori Turbo controller because it can actually plug into Windows 10 and you can use it then to play Xbox One via the streaming function. So you can have a turbo controller for your One if you happen to have a Hori without too much difficulty.
Interesting. And we also had a Twitter comment from Warren Planting42, who gave us the achievement sponsor. He also loved the Connect tip. He apparently has been asking his Connect questions and getting successful responses, which is great. I tried it last night, and I think my Connect just hates me, so it didn't quite work out as well. I got a message, I think I referenced this earlier, it's from XL Mike 3. Okay, so his name is MIK392, but that's actually Mike 92. He just, the 3 is the E,
yep.
Whatever.
Late speak.
Bingo. And he said he just found the Z to Z podcast and he's got to say he's really enjoying it. And so I reached out to him and I just like, hey, that's awesome. He said he has a 7-hour car ride ahead of him, so I hope he enjoyed the backlog, and that's not too much of my voice to drive him off the road. We can never be so sure. But we also had some Twitter feed from Avenged Against. Nice. Oh, is this, you want to take this one?
Sure,
Terrigan?
yeah, we had a couple there. So he said, nice job on all 6 episodes so far. I just found them all and got caught up. I guess you did away with calling them episodes 0.1, etc. I did actually respond at the time. The 0.1 and 0.2, we kind of decided after we'd gotten episode 3 and we were kind of getting into the flow of things that we'd just dropped the 0 point. There was also another sort of slightly technical issue there in that when you edit track numbers in MP3 files, they don't support the points, so I couldn't actually put 0.1 into the track numbers. So it was around about then we just dropped it and went flat to regular episode numbers. His second question was, how did you come up with the name Z to Z? And I think Angel SK also asked this question. So
she did ask that.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a funny history on that one. Originally, the show was just going to be myself and Freem, and we were going to have sort of a rotating third member. And it sort of became pretty clear after we'd been working with Crandy that basically Crandy would be a permanent member. But at the time when we were kind of posing names, we'd sort of floated a lot of ideas around, but I think Freem, you came up with the idea for the Z kind of reference there, given that you're into zombies and my name starts with Z. And so we kind of played with Z versus Z, I think, at the first play. And we sort of just stuck with that. We kind of liked Z because that sort of spelling of Z to Z, because it's kind of like head to head. Z's kind of a zombie reference. We've got the talking Z's kind of reference now. So yeah, we just kind of ran with a particular idea. It doesn't have much relevance anymore because the show's kind of moved on, but we like the name anyway.
Yeah, and if it comes to me, everything's going to be zombie related. So, I mean, I'm dressing my kids up for Halloween like zombies. I mean, everything in my life is zombies pretty much. So if it's something along those lines, that's exactly what this is. And we did get a couple comments early that it's like that. I don't hear Z to Z and think video games. Certainly don't think Xbox, but that's okay. It's hopefully it's catchy enough, and hopefully our content is entertaining enough regardless. So, we stuck with it, and now we're, trying to add as many puns as we can because everybody loves puns. We got a Twitter feed here from Johnny Zarpentine, JZarp43. Just wanted to say thanks. Loves the his new favorite podcast, and so we appreciate that. And then a Twitter response from Dave Soto Jr. Doughboy is how you pronounce his name. And so it was my birthday this week, and so I tweeted. I said, for a birthday present, I wish that everybody would go and download our podcasts on as many accounts as they possibly could. I don't know if I got my birthday wish, but Doughboy helped me out and retweeted it and said, here's his new Xbox themed podcast. It's well done. Take a listen and go rate it 5 stars. So thank you, Doughboy, for spreading the word. Let's touch in with our number one fan, or is he?
Controversy, it sells.
Dun, dun, dun. Great episode 7, guys. In regards to the length, I like a longer podcast to listen to at work or grinding. 2 hours is the sweet spot.
So that was McLovin Legend number 1.
Yep. And that,
has he been unseated?
Well, that seems to be a common theme. I haven't really heard anybody complaining about the length and saying that around about 2 hours is pretty good. I don't know if you've heard anything, Brandon.
I have not, and I like my 2 hours as well.
Yeah, that's
and usually I can talk for 2 hours, so that just happens. Crandy had a TA feed where he mentioned the podcast on YouTube, and Thrash Forever mentioned that it was a good listen. So hey, we appreciate that. And at Jawlin,
yeah, I think it's right? Like Javelin except with a W, so Jawlin.
There you go. Really late to this, but OMG, get your facts straight. Remedy has never postponed a set release date.
Yay, first negative comment.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's not true, right? I mean, come on. Remedy, how many times has Quantum Break been delayed?
Yeah, I guess
at least 3.
I guess what he's saying is that they've never set a specific release date. It's going to get released on this. They've just pushed back quarter this or something like that, and that may well be true. But it's debatable whether or not that really means that they've never sort of delayed a game. I would say that they've still delayed games.
If you have to write, a post letting people know that your game is no longer coming out the day, like the quarter you said it was, that's a delay.
Yeah.
I know Remedy's been in my game delay roundup multiple times. Don't try to pull that on me. I see through your little trick. But thanks again for reaching out. I see the italicized set. So maybe he's trying to catch me in one of those semantic arguments, which I actually got into. Well, maybe semantics is the wrong word. More of a phonetic argument with. Now, I don't want to be too controversial here, like we had mentioned, but this could be our new number one fan, giving McLovin Legend a run for his money. Big L reached out to me on TA.
He reached out to you too.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, you got something?
Yeah. I got some stuff there too. Wait, hang on. Crandy's got some stuff there too. He's reached out to all of us.
Yep. So let's touch on let's do the Big L roundup.
All right.
First of all, this was his PM to me. Title: OMG, please read this PM on your awesome podcast listeners, so I'll be happy. OMG, 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 OMG. And then the content: hi. How you doing, Big L? Thanks for the private message. So I sent him back, and we kind of got into a little. He says, "I'm just busting your balls there." One thing he wanted to touch with he had a couple questions. So the first question: have you ever played a game just because the achievements or gamer score exist that you never ordinarily would have played? So did you ever you look at something, you say, "Yeah, I don't care about that." But then turn around and say, "Oh, easy gamer score," you say. And I've got a great answer for this. Dead or Alive 5 last round. That Core Fighters pack, when that was available for free, and you got your 2 fighters, and I think they had a bonus fighter in there for launch. That was about a year ago, I think. I hate fighting games. I mean, I've made that abundantly clear on this show. Can't stand fighting games. And then I started seeing people say, "Hey, you can unlock quite a bit of achievements." And then you look at the list and you're like, this list is a joke. Yes, I can. And you can get in there and unlock like 700. I think I got 700 achievements in like 700 gamer score in maybe 2 hours. And I think for 600 for 2 hours and then 700 for that third hour, because you have to rubber band your controller for an hour playing, some sort of, bot who doesn't fight back, and just make sure your controller doesn't idle out, or you get booted from a match for idling. And that's, those are some really easy achievements I never would have done otherwise. To stress that point, there is what some people might consider an easy achievement in doing all the training. It's long to do all the training stuff, but literally there's no bad guys. They tell you a series of buttons to push, and you just have to execute that. And my gigantic, fat, broken fingers can't manipulate a quarter circle BA or whatever. And so, like, I just got so frustrated after, like, the third chapter. I was like, nope, this game's done. See ya.
I think I remember that one, and I had trouble with that. And, you know, I mean, I'm certainly no fighting aficionado or anything like that, but I could not get past the training in one of those games too.
I'll put my hand
Matt,
up and add to that. Nope, I have not beaten that training, and I have played that game.
Do you like fighting games at all? Does that do anything for you? Are you on my boat?
A fighting game really has to grab me. Honestly, I play maybe one every 10 years that I really like. Yes, that's basically 2.5 games I've ever really liked fighting game wise. Probably like growing up, Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct really, really grabbed me, and Dead or Alive 4. But other than that, Mortal Kombat 10 was okay. Other than that, I wouldn't say I'm a fighting game, you know,
aficionado,
fanatic by any means. But Killer Instinct really grabbed me.
That's great. And Crandy's talking about Killer Instinct like mad right now.
Yeah, he's just dived it, so to speak. And for a completionist, that's a pretty big commitment.
I have 1,000 in that game. I will be proud enough to say it.
Nice.
Yeah, it took me forever. I think it was like 150 hours to complete Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, not for me, thanks. Was there anything else, you guys, any other games that stuck out to you that you did this with?
Just on fighting games, I think I stopped liking fighting games after around the Tekken era, after they were on PlayStation, the first PlayStation, and I kind of liked all of those Tekken games, and even Street Fighter 2, the early sort of stuff. I played that a lot in the arcade, but I kind of went off it after a while. However, there is a game called Girl Fight, which I picked up pretty much just for the achievements. And yeah, that's pretty easy. And the amount of games that I've bought just because the achievement list is easy and not because I'd actually play the game normally, is too many to count. I couldn't even tell you.
Absolutely. Like Roblox right now. Roblox is like that for me. I looked at the list and I'm like, I gotta just unlock all those. But man, I've played it and like, this is garbage. Ugh.
Roblox, not a game I've played for Gamerscore. It's actually not even available in Canada, and I'm not one to region switch, but I would say probably 80% of my catalog are games that I've played for Gamerscore, more so than for the game contents itself. I mean, I have Hannah Montana. I have all those games on my gamer card that I would have never played otherwise.
Yeah. Have you done Let's Cheer? That's kind of the peak.
Let's Cheer, no. Done Hannah Montana. I've tried to get my hands on Me and My Horse 2, but that goes for a pretty penny on eBay.
Sure does.
What else is on the claim to shame? I would have to take a look, but there's some games that you don't want to admit you've played.
Yeah, Let's Cheer's up there. Victorious, Time to Shine is probably another good one.
Gianna Sisters, Dream Runners, what a terrible game.
Yeah, pretty easy game to score, but yeah, that's a pretty terrible game.
Monopoly games I've played, like, you know, The Life of a Gamer Score. Or
Yep.
Yeah. You know, a game I'll add to that list, Project Spark. I did not want to put that on my card, and unfortunately the GTA SC made me need all that TA, and so I had to get those TA points, and so I put that monstrosity on my card. Thankfully it was free at this point, right? So it didn't cost me anything, but just the time investment to just go through and tick away almost 150 achievements. No thanks.
I think I mentioned it before, but I actually put both the Xbox One and the Windows version. I think it's the Windows version. I put both of those under my tag simply to keep my bean dive completion percentage down. Otherwise, I was going to auto complete my bean dive when I finished it. So I had to add like 250 achievements just to keep it down.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, I mean, you play a lot of games you wouldn't normally play, and sometimes a lot of the times you know what you're getting into, but a lot of times you can get pleasantly surprised. And sometimes you play games that end up coming back years later, and you actually have a reference point. Like, literally the other day, someone asked me, hey, I know you haven't, but have you played Ski-Doo Snowmobile Challenge? And I'm like, yeah, I have. Actually, me and my friend have both played that game because of the gamer score. And it was actually created by the guy who made Unravel. And it's like, he had absolutely no expectation that anyone knows who it's made by. But like, one of the 8 people who've played it were actually talking to him. So it was crazy. You get to experience a lot of games, I think, for Gamerscore. And sometimes, sometimes there's positives to it, I think.
Yeah, there are some gems in the rough. That's for sure.
That was actually Big L's follow-up question is what were those games? And I'm trying to look through my list. I can't even think. Like, I think the one that gets close for me was IDARB. Now, I know it was free, and the list was pretty simple, so I was going to get into it anyway. But I actually really enjoyed playing that. Getting a group of buddies together and just having this just crazy experience. Like, I didn't know what to expect. I was just going in it for Gamerscore. And I was pleasantly surprised with how fun that game was. And, you add a few cocktails in there. Things, maybe get a little out of hand. And that's exactly how the game should be played. And so I'm gonna put that on my list as a gem that I found. Yeah. Anything you can think of, Terrigan?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I think the one game that kind of surprised me as to not being as boring as I thought it was going to be and actually being quite entertaining. It was one of the sort of Disney platformer kiddie kind of games. What was the movie? It was the movie with Johnny Depp doing the voice, and it was sort of a Wild West one with the lizard.
Rango,
that's the one. I actually quite enjoyed that game, surprisingly. It was... I know a lot of people didn't, but I just picked that up for Gamerscore, purely for Gamerscore, and actually quite enjoyed playing through it anyway. So, yeah, I mean, it really depends. Some games are just fun, regardless of what you get out of them. Other games, right? Not so much.
Yeah. So with those two things out of the way, he also goes on to ask, what about achievements that actually ruined the experience? That you enjoyed what you were playing, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, now I got to go do that. And specifically in regards to missables, or actually, Macca, you can probably speak to this a lot. Where
I'm the number one guy to speak about this,
right?
Yeah.
You got any specific examples that just like at the end of it, you just wanted to shoot yourself?
I remember this one's a super old one. I don't know if enough people have the reference point to relate, but Burnout Revenge was a game that was a great game, fantastic achievements in general. And at the very end, it tells you to be like the most downloaded clip of the week on the clip storefront that they had built in the game. And then they're becoming basically like who could get all their friends to download their clip on the weekly reset, and not about anything else. And it was just so stupid. That kind of ruined it, but that's like a super old game. At this point, I think I've just learned to live with that kind of the quote-unquote ruining a game by doing tasks you wouldn't normally do. And I've kind of just learned to enjoy whatever it is I'm doing. I don't know.
Yeah. Big L points out in his Assassin's Creed, and that the first Assassin's Creed, I'm going to totally agree with him on that one. Like, it wasn't the greatest game. It was a little monotonous, but you really had the promise of some exciting things for the future. And then you get to the point where you have to collect all of those darn flags. Oh, my God. And then, God forbid, you miss one of them and they're not on any maps anywhere.
Right.
That was the worst.
Yeah, I think I remember going back to that one. And because, of course, you're playing through the game, you just randomly pick up flags, and so you don't know which ones you've got. And I found a website that allowed you to tick off which ones you had as you went through. And so you kind of followed through and walked through this big guide of like all of the flags. And I got to the end of one zone. I'd managed to find every single flag bar one. And I ticked off all of the flags that I thought I'd found. And it's just like, I have no idea. Right, I'm just going to start the game again.
It's a thing where there's two flags above each other. Those are the ones that get you.
It was something like that, yeah. So I ended up starting the game again and just racing through to that section and getting that last achievement out of the way. I think the thing that really got me in Assassin's Creed, though, was there were two achievements, one for activating all of the glitches during the flashbacks, and one for doing all of the dialogue options with the woman who's I forget her name, but one of the characters that you interact with outside of the
the Kristen Bell character.
Yeah, and
I can't remember her name.
And yeah, of course, my first playthrough completely missed those because I just didn't look at the achievement list at the time. And essentially, you miss one of those particular things, start the whole game again. That was a pain. So yeah, achievements like that kind of suck.
Recently, for me, I decided to complete the undertaking of getting 1,000 in Rainbow Six Siege. And there's some unnecessarily long and unnecessarily grindy and very specific achievements in that game that I wouldn't say ruin the experience for me, because I feel like if it's really ruining the experience for me, I don't do it anymore. But it was kind of felt unnecessary. But at the end of the day, I felt like, I felt that sense of accomplishment that you look for when you get a super rare achievement that no one else has. I just feel like they didn't necessarily fit in with what the other achievements were trying to do. I'm more of a miscellaneous kind of task guy, like do this while doing this, or, I'm more of a doing something directly that unlocks an achievement versus, killing a certain amount of people over forever. So they had like kill 2,500 people, like kill 200 people by shooting them through a desk, or complete 100 modes of this specific hostage defend game. And I felt like those were like too specific and too cumulative for my taste, and they felt a little grindy. But at the end of the day, you know what? I did it because I knew I would feel the sense of accomplishment for Rainbow Six. Not a lot of people have that completion. It's still something like pretty cool to have. So it's that finding that balance, I think.
Yeah, and I guess they sort of have a template, I guess, for achievements like that. It's like, okay, we're going to put some cumulative ones in, some cumulative multiplayer ones in, some just some really, really weird do something that you wouldn't expect to do in a level 1. And I think the ones I like the best are the ones that just make you play the game in a way that you would not have considered playing at all. They're the most interesting.
Or the ones that make you experience, have a taste of all the content that's in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, hey, go give co-op mode a try. But don't worry about getting to level 20 or, grinding out to level 50 in multiplayer. As much as we'd love for you to stay in our servers and play forever, just at least give it a shot, because we think you'll enjoy it. And those are the types of achievements that I wholeheartedly approve of. But the ones, it's a badge of honor, but I don't want to do seriously anything in any of the Gears of Wars. I'm just not going to do that.
So you're not going to do the Win 1000 ranked matches in WarTech with me sometime?
I've never even heard of that game.
Exactly.
Well, and even like Happy Wars, right?
Yeah.
With 10,000 heals. Like, oh my God, I'm not even to like 3,000. Like this, I'm just not doing that.
That's exactly what I'm feeling right now.
Completion.
Playing Guitar Hero, Shrum 1 million times. You will literally. If you wanted to just play, even if you're a high end player, that's like 500 hours of strumming.
Yeah,
it's just
that is obscene,
unnecessary.
We actually got a submission about that achievement, so that's going to be one of our sponsored achievements in another episode. But just as a tip, you should go actually have a look at the solution on TF.
I have. I mean,
it's pretty hilarious.
They should rename the achievement to go buy a reciprocating saw at Home Depot to play for you. Still, even with that, it takes 15 hours for a saw at full speed to strum 1 million times. So it kind of gives you an idea.
That's crazy. I mean, it's almost like, here's an achievement that we want you to buy extra peripherals, because you will break your guitar before you actually complete this achievement. So
I actually have a friend with
thank you for the extra $40.
He said the biggest surprise of the achievement was that his guitar still worked after 1 million strums.
Yep.
Yeah, they probably don't even put the robots that actually test the structural integrity of these things through 1 million strums. They probably stopped at 500,000 and just said, "Yeah, we'll just extrapolate. I'm sure it'll hold up." All right. Well, so Big L and I had a little bit more to talk about, but he did reiterate if you do have an issue with the length, go ahead and do what Urban does and play it at 1.5 times speed. So your 2-hour podcast is a 90-minute podcast, and hopefully I don't sound like a Alvin the Chipmunk talking really fast and high pitched. I don't think you can change the pitch with the speed, but change the pitch.
Depends on the player. The podcast app on iPhone, you can increase the speed, but it actually keeps the pitch at the same. So you're basically just talking really fast.
YouTube does the same.
Yeah, so I don't mind that. Sometimes I listen to them like that, but I've opted now to just listen to everything at 1 time speed. So it was good, but it's a good suggestion anyway, and I certainly know people take advantage of that. Absolutely. So what did Big L have to say on your feed? Let's see. He had a bit to say about Kickstarter. He just sort of went through a few Kickstarters that he'd done, and basically of the 6 or so that he sort of listed out there, he's only really gotten one actually that came back properly. So he's had a bit of a mixed experience with that. But the thing that he did ask was actually about the episode with Jack Whitling. That's WebChimp. Was it Whitling? Whitling. Jack, anyway. Watling, that's right. Sorry. Yeah. So WebChimp basically said, asked if he was smoking the whole time because he could have sworn he heard lighters going off and it sounded like he was exhaling smoke every time he talked. So I sort of thought about that and I thought, no, that's probably my fault because I probably had to apply a lot of noise reduction against his recording. And he's got a very loud mechanical keyboard that it was hitting from time to time. So I managed to chop a lot of it out, but there would be times when you would hear a click, click, click of him typing into the keyboard. So, no, he was not smoking and he wasn't setting off a lighter. It's probably a combination of his mechanical keyboard and, the digital burbling sound you get when you do too much noise reduction. But I thought that was funny.
He may have been using a typewriter, to tell you the truth.
That's true. It does sound very much like a typewriter.
Yeah. It was. I mean, those were some heavy keys. That was impressive. Big L also sent a message to Randy, and this is what he had to say in regards to Knobs and Discos that we talked about with servers closing. He said, I had mentioned I wanted to get Tiger Woods 14 out of the way before EA shut down the servers, and we had talked about how EA had been on the list of worst companies ever for multiple years running. And he said, to their credit, and I hope I'm not jinxing this, EA has not closed any servers since 2013. So your Madden 12, your NHL 12, they're gone. But the 13 editions are still going, and of course that means my Tiger Woods 14 is still going. And he said, along those lines, playing games because there's this threat of losing your gamer score when servers go down. He made mention of Army of Two. He jumped on that as quick as he can. He gives a shout out to Matriarch here. That the two of them went co-op and just ripped through Army of Two to try and get this thing done before those servers closed, and they just burned right through the whole thing. And they're like, that's exactly how you do it. You focus, you rip through a game and enjoy it. I assume they enjoyed it. But he said, if the servers weren't closing, that game would have stayed in the cellophane. I mean, they never would have opened it. But he also goes on to say, in the same series, Army of Two, the 40th Day, that went ahead and just discontinued a bunch of achievements. And so now he's like, I'm not going to start it because it's going to ruin a completion percentage. It completely turns me off when going into it, I already know that I can't get everything. And so, he points out that people would rather go play Hannah Montana because you can actually get all the achievements than what a game that you might actually enjoy because there's this mucked up one and down the road. And I have to absolutely echo that sentiment because I've got a couple of games sitting here that and Roblox is a great example. Like, I'm not disappointed I started it. I'm going to get a quick 900, but in 20 days from now, when that last achievement should be unlocking and there's still issues with the friends one, I'm gonna be upset about that. And then it's like, okay, well, at some point I have to assume they're gonna fix it, and then I have to go back and revisit. And it's like, oh man, I just want to be done with it.
No one wants a completion with a little asterisk next to it,
right? Apples for apples is the same way.
I guess
that stupid Facebook integration.
Yeah, I guess I'm the other way. I'm on the other side. I'm not a completionist. I probably used to be way long ago before I did my first bean dive. I was at something like about 65% completion. And I worried about games with discontinued and unobtainables, and I wouldn't start games that I knew had achievements that I couldn't get. And I was at the point where I realized that I was protecting my completion percentage by simply not starting games that I had in my backlog. And I kind of realized how silly that was because I've got this bunch of games there that I'm buying. They're sitting there waiting to be played, and I'm not playing games because of some number on a website. And I find that a bit silly, Sure, we all like to play these games because of that other number, the gamer score. But to worry about the completion percentage and whether or not you're going to be able to get to 100%, I kind of just thought I had the kind of an epiphany and thought, this is really silly. And that's when I went on my first bean dive on, I think it was probably 2013 or something like that, and added, a good 80 games to my collection and probably half my completion percentage. And I've stopped caring about unobtainables and discontinueds, really. If the game's there and it's got achievements and gamer score, I'm happy to play it regardless. I know Crandy's certainly on the other side of that, and he will avoid discontinueds and unobtainables like the plague. But I don't care. I don't care what's on my card.
I'll take Crandy's role then, I guess, because I'm at like the 82% mark, and I probably have over 100 Xbox One games that I haven't started yet. And although I've done a very, very small bean dive, I would never go through all of those and add them to my gamer card. I'm not a completionist, I would say, but personally, I like to get it if I can, and it itches a little bit when I'm unable to get it or I know it's sitting there. It started to itch less than it used to, but I think there is still some residual itch there when there are games that I can't complete.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like to get all the achievements I can out of a game. Like, I'm not the kind of person who'll burn through the easy stuff and then leave collectibles or things like that around. But so I'll certainly get what I can and what is available. But if a game does have discontinueds and unobtainables, it's not gonna stop me from playing that game.
Right.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, what I liked about achievement lists initially was that they typically painted a good picture of all the content in a game. And so if you got all the achievements, it meant you pretty much saw everything that the developer had intended for you to see.
Just like Avatar.
Yeah, exactly. They wanted you to see 50 bad guys, and then that was it. But in regards to, not an obscene amount of collectibles, or if there was they did something different with a hard mode, or, there's all sorts of things. There's always the story-related achievements. It was just a great indication as to what your progress was in the game. The Elder Scrolls series was a great one, to do all those little side quests. Fallout, same thing. I want to experience all of the different side quests that, and the achievements help monitor which ones those are. And so if there's one that's buggy or glitchy or simply discontinued, it leaves a sour taste in my mouth just to say, well, and now I can't experience something that, someone may have in the past if it's, a multiplayer or server related, that's not available to me. And that just kind of is disappointing. Awesome. Well, let's move on. Thank you, Big L, for all that fun stuff.
Yeah. I had Facial Lafleur give me some feedback on the blog. So we discussed Kickstarter last episode, and he said regarding the high-tier Kickstarter perks that don't include transportation, he says he thinks the reasoning behind that is due to security issues with people buying tickets for other people. He said he could be wrong about that, but that would be his guess. And I suppose that would make some kind of sense if you're purchasing tickets for somebody you don't know their security implications.
Yeah, that never occurred to me. That is brilliant.
Yeah, so I think that's probably what's going on there. He also went on to say, another great show, guys. Thank you. I have an idea that could be interesting if you wanted to give it a try, rather than us habitual commentators referring to something you may or may not remember from the week prior. Hey, what are you saying? Maybe every few episodes you could do a sort of interactive thing where you set a topic and topic to be discussed in the next episode, and we can write our thoughts and you could read those as well as inject your own. So I thought that was a good idea. So we'll take that on board and might do something like that in the next few episodes.
Figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah,
for sure. You gotta do better about bothering people about fitting things in. I think what's great about this is we just get so many random questions and fun things to talk about.
Sure,
that it keeps you on your toes and you get to jump around quite a bit.
But it might be something that we could even pose like a month in advance and just go, here's what our topic is going to be, and we just retweet that every episode or whatever, and get the aggregate total of all of the feedback and go from there, maybe.
For sure. Absolutely.
Now, this one's another thing to me, given I won a copy of Cobalt from Randall Thor, Randall Thor 19. So thank you very much for that. But he also, just in the direct message, he did mention that he thought the podcast was pretty good. So thank you very much. That was awesome.
Thanks for listening.
Just to add to that, Rand's a really cool dude. He's going to reach 1 million gamer score pretty freaking soon. You guys should check him out.
Yeah, no, I'm keeping a very close eye on that, actually.
He streams quite a bit. He's also on the TXR podcast with myself. He's a good dude.
Yeah. So I actually want to probably not the next episode, but the episode after, just do a little bit of a spotlight on the battle between him and Redemption Denied, and also Big Sexy One to try and reach 1 million first, because it seems like one of those is going to get there. I'm just not sure who's going to make it first.
It's real close right now. Yeah. It really is.
And Redemption's definitely putting on the points too.
Absolutely. So, Macca, you've obviously had interactions with Rand. Is he like really trying to push it on for this home stretch here, or
I think it's better if
like he normally games?
Yeah, no, I think it's best if he speaks for himself. He's got a few ideas he's working with. I don't think he's on the same page as the other guys who are necessarily trying to get there as fast as possible. He's doing his own thing. I don't know if he's necessarily going to beat them or if he's not going to beat them. He should probably, I think he's been pretty outspoken about what he plans to do. He's working on some stuff behind the scenes there, though, with what he's going to be doing.
That's awesome. So yeah, make sure you guys go take a listen, watch him on stream. But yeah, he's getting real close.
Sure is. All right, got another contact from Montana97, who's one of my teammates in GTA SC. He asks, besides Lost and the Prison Break games, which TV franchise would you most want to play? He mentions also that there was some screenshots from a Dexter game, Sopranos game on PS2, 24. The game has been teased for years. Is there anything like that that's sort of on your radar, Brandon?
Well, you mean like all the NCISs that are super easy to get gamer score in?
Something like that, or just a game that you CSIs? Think a game that you think would translate, or so a TV show that you think would translate well, I guess, is the question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, with where I'm going, and they tried and it failed. The Walking Dead. I'm really looking forward to Overkill's The Walking Dead, but that's supposed to be a little bit more close to the comic book type world, not necessarily the TV show. Survival Instinct was, it left some things to be desired. That's kind of one of my dream type games is if you could have and State of Decay kind of did it. It could be better. Is if you had almost like a Metal Gear, Metal Gear Solid 5 zombie game where there's some really fantastic stealth elements. That it was completely ridiculous to try and take these things on. But if you got into a pinch, you could probably fight your way out of it. But I would love that level of polish. I know some games have tried it, but that would be like my dream game is if you could take that franchise and really make an awesome stealth game out of it and, infiltrate Woodbury or Terminus or anything from the TV show. You could probably apply that over, but that's the thing. I don't see a lot of these. I mean, we're already not getting licensed materials from movies because they can't churn that stuff out as fast, and it's usually garbage. So there's not a lot of those licensed properties left.
I mean, Duck Dynasty has to be a diamond in the rough with
quality
games produced in regards to TV shows.
Absolutely, that was I could actually see the BBC Sherlock, the modern day Sherlock. I could actually see a really good point and click kind of game based on that. But as a general rule, I don't think there's a lot of TV shows that would sort of work. I guess I suppose a show based on Making a Murderer could work. That could be interesting.
Making a Murderer, the animated game.
Yeah. And here's how you plant the evidence. And
you make a Lego game.
Yeah, Lego Making a Murderer.
I was quite a fan of what Forza Horizon 2 did with the Fast and Furious series, because the last Fast and Furious game was terrible, whatever. It was by Activision, I think. I think they kind of struck a little bit of, genius with their idea of realizing there's not enough turnaround time to create a good video game in regards to our movie. So what are we going to do? Let's license out this kind of demo-y experience to these guys, produce a couple free cars, and let's use the video game more as a marketing material than an actual expense. Because they probably just, they exchanged a handshake, they exchanged a little bit of money, and they made it happen. And they made it happen Forza Horizon 2 Presents Fast and Furious was a better game, cost them less than anything they could have done on their own. And got probably more marketing and exposure for them than making their own game would have.
No, that's a great example, and I think it totally fits the mold of where I could see, you know, this synergy between, you know, movies, TV, and video games.
Right.
You know, because it's so easy. Well, I say so easy. I'm not a developer, but it's much easier to throw a bunch of skins together to promote a product than to develop everything from the ground up.
Right.
You know, and so that'd be great.
And I definitely think we're seeing that already with like the Lego Jurassic World game. That's a Jurassic World. It's technically a movie game, but they licensed it to the Lego guys. And there's going to be a Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. And we're seeing a lot of that kind of stuff with the Telltale games doing Batman and Superman, I want to say, but someone might call me out for being completely off base here. I think there's a Batman and Superman coming out, and they're probably going to time it with the movies. You know, they're not for the movie, but they are cross-promotional marketing material that is on the same base and at the same time.
Yeah. The Walking Dead, The Escapists. I mean, that was a great crossover promotion right there. Yeah, I mean, that's probably where you're going to get the best bang for your buck anyway. You know,
as a consumer and as someone who's trying to promote your product, I think that's the sweet spot.
Absolutely. So I put a post up on my TA feed here, and Crandy wanted to nominate Solo Champion as the achievement of the week, and so we're not going to do that. Sorry, Crandy, but
not this week anyway.
No. Big L shows up again in response to a comment from JJ Aldana. He asks about remasters we'd like to see, and Big L said that he's pretty sure we talked about this already because Crandy loves remasters so much. I don't think we talked about remasters that we want to see. We talked about Dead Space.
That's right, yeah.
With being remastered and stuff, but are there any properties out there that you would love to see redone?
Yes, Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah,
without a doubt, I would play.
Are you on the list trying to get that up at the top?
Yeah, but I don't want backwards compatibility. I want a full re-release because I loved going through that entire game and getting all of the achievements. I'd do it again.
Do you not think there'll be a Red Dead Redemption 2?
I would hope there would be.
Right.
Certainly, yes, I hope there will be, but there hasn't been any news on that.
Right.
But I would also play a remaster of Red Dead Redemption just because it's a great game.
Yeah, I think seeing Alan Wake remastered with, like, on the 360, that experience, the visuals, I mean, that was really, at the time for me, jaw-dropping, and I was like, wow, this is really amazing, and I can only imagine using the power of the Xbox One to really polish up those graphics and just get, the lighting effects and all the really unique atmospheric things that they do. Oh, I think it would look so good.
That's interesting you mentioned that because I thought I read something recently. It was a rumor about it getting redone. But,
it's a matter of seconds before they probably announce it's happening with a Quantum Break pre-release thing.
That's
bundle.
right.
But I thought it was a backwards compatibility thing.
It's a remaster,
not a remaster.
Well, that's what the rumor is.
Yeah.
Oh,
that'll be great. That's another game I'd play through.
Yeah. What was Xbox had asked people, if we packaged Alan Wake with a pre-order or something, would that entice you to buy Quantum Break? It was one of those survey questions.
Sure, I was going to buy Quantum Break anyway. But
I feel like since that survey, there's been a few more kind of rumblings, a few more rumors and developments about that actually being a thing. Now, I don't have any, I wish I could have some insider information that I could drop on the podcast. But I would not be by any means surprised to hear about it soon. And we don't have much longer to wait, really, in all reality, right? Right. I don't know what the time frame for, like, publishers typically is for when they really make that big pre-order push, but whenever that big pre-order push happens is probably, when the most likely moment they'll talk about it.
Yeah. Besides that, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but yeah, Red Dead Redemption is definitely a big one.
I'll raise my hand and say BioShock Collection.
Ah, yes.
BioShock 1, 2, and Infinite would be lovely on the Xbox One.
Absolutely.
And, they're probably going to make it. I think they're going to make it. I think we're going to see it actually pretty soon. But I don't think it'll be necessarily a remaster. I think there'll be more kind of ports, polished ports, aka like PC performing games instead of how they performed when they initially came out. But I guess we'll see about that too.
Yeah, absolutely. The final comment I had on my activity feed was from X Towers, and it's a bit of a gripe. He says, "Hey, EA Access gave me 2 levels of Unravel. Wasn't I supposed to get a 10-hour free trial of that full game?" And I think that's typically what they do, but EA had gone out and said, look, for games that are more contained like Unravel, yes, you can have 10 hours of FIFA or a sports game. They purposefully made this demo size because, you could, if you really put your mind to it, you could probably beat the game in 10 hours.
Right.
Just go and take a look at Macca's guides on that.
Right.
Well, yeah, they did the same with Battlefield Hardline. They don't let you play the prologue in the first mission because you could have beat Battlefield Hardline in 3.5 hours if you really put your mind to it. I like to call that game Can't Skip Cinematic Simulator 2015. It was the most annoying experience of my life. But no, I think that's their standard. Their standard is any game that has a story, they're going to offer like the basically the tutorial plus 1 level. And then for Battlefield Hardline, it worked out that they also had online in there, so you could play like 8 hours of online. But for Unravel, it's an unnecessary 10 hours because you're probably going to play it for 2 hours. But, most people would beat the game in 10 hours probably anyways, so it wouldn't really be much of a trial at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said, that's it for the listener feedback, and thank you so much for everybody who took the time to send us questions, to reach out to us. We really appreciate that. But we were just talking about Unravel. Let's get into the recap of what we've been playing this week. And I know, Macca, you've got Unravel on your list.
Unravel, I've played a little bit.
I've seen the guide.
There is one guide. It's on the list. It's on the to-do list. Been playing a lot of Dying Light: The Following. I am lucky enough to have a advanced copy of that. A little bit of Firewatch as well. But for the most part, I've been spending my time doing the unfortunate task of trying to even out my gamer score to end in a 5 or 0 by playing Guitar Hero for 24 hours. Not at one sitting, just in general. That's where most of my time has went, probably, and a little bit of Halo 5.
I suppose you can't just idle that, too, because you'll get booed off the stage, right?
Not even... No, it has to be in the live mode, in the TV mode, rather. And in the TV mode, if you're not clicking away for, 30 seconds, you get put into, this screen where it tells you to press A to continue, and it doesn't count that time. It only counts time where the song's actually playing. So, yeah, you can't idle it either. I guess you could, think of engineers.
No, you're working toward that million.
Yeah, I guess.
Better get that sore out.
I'm at 90% of 24 hours, so I only got a little bit to go, and then I will finally have
that'll feel good.
Another 0 or 5 at the end there, and some game company will come and screw it up probably pretty soon. But
just don't start 3s.
3s is a disaster when it comes to gamer score.
Yes,
one of the worst.
For myself, my story is basically much the same as the last few weeks. Alien Isolation. I've actually got to the last level on that, and I'm almost about to finish the game. I've actually saved that because I want to pop those achievements for next week in the G-Task. So that's just there. Lines. I'm up to the final grindy achievement where you've got to draw 1 million kilometers worth of lines or whatever it is. That's a bit annoying. Max Payne 3 did a little bit of multiplayer to unlock some other high value achievements there. Cobalt, that was the freebie I got from Randall Thor. Again, thank you. Guns, Gore and Cannoli, just went and finished off most of the story, and I'm holding back again on the final one on that, just again for the G-Task. And replay, I went through all of the achievements in Conker's Bad Fur Day. Again, mostly for G-Task because they're high value. So yeah, it's been, besides doing post-production on the podcast, I think most of my achievements have been basically for the G-Task this week.
Is the GTAS pretty heated right now? Because I feel like people are putting up some decent points.
Yeah, they this year they changed the cutoff numbers right at the beginning. So I think we lose about 10% of the field every week at the moment. And that has actually ended up being, unlike last year, where you could get by on, 500 points per week for about the first half of the year. The average has been around about 4,000 points every week.
Wow.
So people are actually having to put in a bit of work.
I'm surprised I'm still in it then.
Yeah, I mean, well, the individual side has been really low. That's only a bit down around the 200 side, but the team side's been quite full on. So
I feel like there were weeks last year where you could still pass with a negative gamer score.
Almost, yeah. We came pretty close. I think there was probably the 5th or 6th week or something like that last year on the individual side. You could get by with 1 TA or something. But yeah, it's been a little bit higher on the individual side, but certainly the team side has been quite busy. So
yeah, absolutely. As far as I'm concerned, today was day number 10 for Roblox, so I got a nice 10 ratio achievement, which I'm sure is down now since it's the first day you could possibly get the 10th day streak, but it's a great 200 pointer, so man, those points are fantastic. I also, in transition between months, went back to Destiny to work on my Titan goal of finishing his subclass. I happened to earn the Sunbreaker achievement, so that was a nice little bonus. But I'm really nervous I can't get this thing done. I've got a lot of bubbles left, and it's one of these things like I don't really want to commit an hour every night to do all the dailies and stuff, so I don't think I can get all the XP I need to meet my goal. What I did instead this week was I started up Life is Strange, the other leg of my goal. There also happened to be an achievement in the second episode that had the word light in it, which directly plays into my weekly achievement hound scavenger hunt. The other side of it was earning an achievement with the word night, and I did that in Dead Rising off the record. I just had to kill 69 zombies, so that was nice and easy. But I want to talk about Life is Strange because, we're all so used to the Telltale model of episodic games, the cel-shaded graphics, and the just dreadful engine that has perpetuated as long as it has. We were able to give it a pass maybe on The Walking Dead season 1, and then for me, The Wolf Among Us, came to a head, and the thing was an absolute monster. So to play this game and have it run so smoothly and look so beautiful, it's fantastic. And what is exceptionally interesting about it is, the game revolves around the high school girl who, kind of emo, very much unsure of herself, and learns that she has the power to rewind time. And using that power, she can change her behavior. And after she commits an action, can then rewind it and change the action so that she, can get questions correct, essentially predict the future because she's lived the future and gone back. But what I would really enjoy is those instances where, and I'll use an innocuous example of, immediately outside the school, there's the teacher there with a petition saying, that there's a movement to put security cameras up all over the school. And they're saying, oh, Max, will you please sign the petition so that, we want a high school and not a penitentiary. And so you're like, yeah, that's a great idea. I don't want 1984. I'm going to sign this. I don't want to be surveillanced all the time. And then she has her inner monologue and says, oh my gosh, I'm kind of a nerd and I'd really put myself out there with putting my name on this list. I think people are really going to think negative of me. And then all of a sudden, as the gamer, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. No, rewind that. Go take your name off that list. And then, of course, you take your name off the list and she says, her inner monologue, boy, I can't imagine having surveillance all the time. I really probably should have put my name on the list and prevented this from happening. And you're like, oh, that's a great point too. What am I going to do? And it's something that's so relatively trivial. And of course, at the very top is this action will have consequences, and it's like, man, and just that level of, yeah, okay, I can kind of see where the consequences are going to go, but it's something that seems so trivial, and it kind of has a trivial response to it in some instances where, there'll be one line of dialogue that changes, but then there's other things that are dramatically different, and I really appreciate that. The music in this game is also phenomenal. Like, I will, if I'm in her room, I'll just turn on her stereo, and then you can have those moments where you like lay on her bed and just she has an inner monologue and the music's playing, and it's like, man, I could just listen to this music. It's so great, and it fits the story so well. I mean, it really creates this sense of environment that's just awesome. The third and final thing, and I'm going to do this without spoiling anything, at least I'm going to try. At the end of the second episode, there's a very dramatic scene that takes place. And I had played through, and there is a game mechanic that, you're used to, and it's taken away from you. And so you have to, play this thing straight. And I made some mistakes, and I thought, no, okay, I can fix it. And didn't. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I've seen this before in games. This was a predetermined thing. I'm not going to feel bad about what happened because it was out of my hands. And at the end of the episode, they do the recaps, and they say, here's all the decisions and where you fell from a percentage standpoint. And then I saw my decision at the end, and the fact that there was another option and I failed. And I'm like, no, I can't believe this happened. How did I screw this up so bad? I want to start over because I'm not happy with the course of action. But that's not my story, right? My story is the way I'm playing it right now. But, I mean, I'm already seeing, and unfortunately there's no gamer score for me to go back and redo this. But, like, I kind of want to replay it and see if I can change the course of all these actions. I mean, I'm really hooked. I'm really excited about where this thing's going to go, and I can't wait. Hopefully, I can finish this next week with the 3 remaining episodes. But it's really wonderful, and if you haven't experienced this, I totally recommend getting out there and being a part of it. Have you guys played it at all? Have you started it?
I've been saying forever that Life is Strange is the best episodic game that's come out in a very long time. I think it was number 5 or somewhere along those lines in my top 10 games of like the year. I think Life is Strange is a fantastic game. Highly recommend it. Have nothing but good things to say about it. It's one of like the 2 or 3 games that have literally made my jaw drop at some points in the story. And I'm not much of usually a story guy, and that's saying a lot. I think Life is Strange, like many of the points you made, incredible soundtrack, cool dynamics. Like, it makes you play games how you don't normally play them, and it's a gem. It's unique, and Life is Strange, super recommend on my list. Personally, nothing but good things to say.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I'm with you as well. I've actually I picked it up on both platforms, and that gave me the great opportunity to go through and actually do the opposite decisions or change decisions on the other platforms. So I've actually got 2 playthroughs where I've done wildly different things, and it was really interesting just to see the differences in the results. But yeah, I've got the full completion on that on both platforms, and nice. really loved the whole game. And also on the soundtrack, I think it was the trailer for episode 3 or maybe 4, might be 3. There was a party, and they had this really great song just pounding in the background for this party, and in the trailer, and I actually ended up picking up that band, and so I've actually got a new band in my music collection because of that particular song. So it's turned me on to some music too.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. So I can't wait to finish that. You guys are all ahead of me. Did you enjoy your playthrough? I assume, really there's 2 different paths, and you do the same thing in like The Walking Dead or whatever, is where I guess you maybe have a couple more options of The Walking Dead, but you can either be super friendly and very helpful and wonderful, or you can be a total raging, biatch. Did you enjoy one over the other?
Yeah, I think my first sort of playthrough, I was basically the nice person through the entire thing. Saved everybody I could, did all the nice things for everyone. The second time round, particularly in the final episode, and you'll understand once you get to the end of it. My second playthrough of the final episode, I basically just rushed through the entire thing. But I won't go into too much more because it will probably spoil it. But I was certainly more callous towards the end of my second playthrough at any rate.
I'll look forward to that. Macca, how did you play it? Were you very nice and helpful? I feel like that's kind of the general. People like to do that initially. Is like, I'm a good person. I want to be a good person in games.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes I like to play video games to escape reality in its own way. So I don't necessarily like to tackle situations the way I would in real life. I was usually friendly, but sometimes I wanted to be a little selfish just to see what would happen.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to, be the absolute best at everything. And some of those pie charts you were talking about that you see once you complete the game, I realized, whoa, I could have apparently done this so much better, but I didn't.
Right.
But you know what? Too bad. It's the way I chose to play the game, and that's what happened. And I'm going to live with my consequences, which was pretty cool to have to, take what you did and just have to go with it. I played it. I would say I was probably on the nicer end in general. I think you can be in that game more so than in Telltale games. You're either nice or you're not nice. Whereas this one is more of a, are you going to be selfish or are you not going to be selfish? Are you going to go out of your way to do something or are you not?
I think also some of the choices aren't even that clear. They're more, will you help this person or are you going to help this person? And it's
with no knowledge
neither of them are really good or bad. It's just, you're supporting one thing over another, and that makes all the difference.
Yeah, it's remarkable how branching it is given you got two decisions to make. You look at The Walking Dead or a Telltale model where there's typically four options. Some of the major points, there's only two. But even from a dialogue standpoint, you've got an aggressive, a passive, a kind, and a don't say anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those could have dramatic, I'm not going to say necessarily dramatic effects, but they do have varying effects. And this game really presents it as you got kind of two options, and you can really roll with either one of them. I will say, I wanted to just be, to the bitchy girl, right? I just wanted to just rub her face in everything I could.
Yeah.
And
yep, Victoria, I think you're talking
right?
about. Yeah.
So anyway, that's Life is Strange. Fantastic game. I can't wait to finish it. So let's move into our news. We don't have a ton of news to talk about, but let's just catch you up on some of the fun things that we found. All right, so Terrigan, news. Why don't you get started?
All right.
Fill me in.
Yeah, well, there was a little bit of news from True Achievements. They've actually modified their front page a little bit and put Games with Gold prominently on the front, as well as the brand new achievement lists. So they've revised that a bit. So I thought that was worth a note. Most people probably already know about that who visit True Achievements, but it's I found it was pretty helpful, actually, particularly the new achievement lists. I don't know if you've checked that out at all, but yeah. From my own side of things, I actually I'm sort of ready to announce a project. I'm calling it Project Balrog, which is basically a forced acronym for Bean Dive All of the Little Loved, Rare and Overlooked Games. So what I'm planning to do, and that's for this year's Bean Dive on True Achievements, is to try and get as many of the games that I haven't already started that have less than 300 players on True Achievements and dive all of them. So there's probably, I've got a bit of a short list of about probably 300 odd games that I'm looking to try and dive, that all are those kind of very rare or very unplayed games. So yeah, I think I kind of hinted this to McLovin on Twitter, but that's what's going on, and I'll have more information about that in future episodes.
So are you asking the community for some help to identify those?
Not so much to identify them. Actually, source them might be tricky. I might need to borrow or beg or steal some of those. But yeah, there's a bunch of those games are actually super rare. So I might need to find a little bit of help just sourcing them. And of course, if anybody wanted to donate games, that would be appreciated too. But we'll see how we go.
How many working kidneys do you have? Could you trade one of those? Do a little black market organ action?
Yeah, well, it's just the value of some of those games. You could almost do a kidney, couldn't you? Yeah. Anyway,
just giving you ideas.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think.
You only need one.
Yeah. And it only decreases your life expectancy by 10 years. Who needs that? Think of all the achievements I get. What have you got for us anyway?
There's just a couple points that the EA Vault has added Madden 16, so you can play that. And Gone Home, we had talked about that. Terrigan, you've been playing it. That's a relatively easy game to get Gamerscore in. Finally gets its worldwide release. So you're no longer required to just get the US version, the EU, Australia, I think the Brazil version, everywhere is getting theirs. They're finally cleared up that last little bit. The final piece of news I want to touch on.
We'll plug Macca again there because he's done some great guides for Gone Home.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You can get 1,000 in about 25 minutes.
Yeah, it's a very fast game.
There's a perfect walkthrough right there. Well, that's awesome. The last piece of news I wanted to touch on is in regards to The Division. And there was some sneaky wording that came out on the Ubisoft webpage in regards to just giving you a little glimpse at what's to come. But you kind of read into the statement, and I'll read the statement verbatim here. Plus, on March 8th, Season Pass owners will unlock the exclusive sawed-off shotgun, a unique sidearm customized for short-range destruction. Season Pass owners will also receive a set of exclusive outfits and weapon skins, as well as access to a special monthly benefits, including exclusive content drops and special events. That last sentence is what bothers me. If you don't have a season pass, guess what? You're locked out of events and you're locked out of these special monthly things. And if you've played Destiny at all, you understand how much the community hates when you start hiding things behind season passes or paywalls and blocking out the community. I don't know the details. Obviously, this is game's not released yet. This is projected for March 8th to have this content, but if they indeed are hiding all these things behind the season pass, I think that is a little deceptive, and I certainly don't approve of it. Again, the game's not released, so I'll give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but I remember when Destiny introduced microtransaction, I said, it's not so bad when it's cosmetic, and then it stopped being cosmetic. And so, there's some slippery slopes here, and the marketing wording gets a little tricky, so we'll have to see when The Division comes out. Did you get to play any of this at all, Macca?
I've been playing. I've played quite a bit of Division. I got two chances to play it. One in August, one in September. Then I played a little bit of the beta. I don't like to burn myself out on the beta. Hoping to get my hands on it more closer to launch and see where it goes from there. I don't really keep up with the season pass kind of dilemmas either, so I'm a little bit behind. I'm not maybe on topic as much as you for sure. So I don't know. I don't think it's in anyone's interest to segregate the community that's playing the game, right? So that's my only real stance on that specifically.
How about your thoughts on the game in just your preview experience? I went on record saying that I enjoyed the single player stuff, and being an achievement guy, if the achievements are single player focused, I absolutely will buy it. If they are heavy Dark Zone focused, I am a little nervous about that. But I play games for achievements, so I don't know what side of the fence you might be on.
I don't know. I actually think the Dark Zone offers a lot. I think the story is going to offer a lot too. So I think they're both sides of the coin. They're probably going to want to split that list like 50-50. I think the setting of New York, like near Christmas, is a fantastic setting. I think it has a lot of potential. I guess we'll see. I've actually said that I think in a weird way that the Division's gunplay is its worst part, which is probably going to turn a lot of people off because it's like, the gunplay is bad. Isn't that the point of the game? In a weird way, like it can kind of be pardoned for having not necessarily the strongest gunplay, because you're never going to reach the gunplay levels of Destiny with Bungie making that game. But at the same time, the Division offers some cool stuff. The setting's really cool. It seems to have a decent like sound direction. Hopefully, it's unique enough. My problem is my skepticism rather is with how long the longevity of the Division and how long it's going to hold people in. Not necessarily if people are going to be playing it the first month or month and a half.
Right. Yeah, and I loved the cover system. I thought that was executed really well. That it seemed fluid. You know, there was weight to your movement, like in Gears of War, but you didn't feel clunky.
Yep.
You know, I really like that, but I totally echo your sentiments on the gunplay. You know, it's simply adequate, right?
It's enough.
It gets the point across,
yeah.
Right? So, yeah, absolutely. Well, great. That was just a quick little touch of the news. You know, we're not quite as news heavy. We like to stick with achievements, but those were at least interesting to us. On the what we do like to get into though is some Gamerscore Boot Camp. So here is this week's offering. Today's Gamerscore Boot Camp is Thomas Was Alone. This delightful puzzle platformer developed by Curve Digital came out in November 2014. This game is a relatively short and easy 1000 Gamerscore, with the majority of people taking between 3 and 5 hours. There are 15 achievements, of which 11 of them are collectibles, but fear not, this is only a handful of items to actually pick up. The other 4 achievements will likely occur naturally while completing the game's 120 levels. Now, 120 levels may sound daunting. They're actually quite easy to complete and done very quickly. So fast in some cases, you may have to stand at the exit door to fully listen to the narrator's dialogue, which I totally recommend doing. The narration and story are a wonderful tale about a digital artificial intelligence becoming sentient, and the picture painted by the narration gives each character so much personality, despite being boxes of various shapes, sizes, and abilities. The color dialogue provides each box with a unique personality and adds to the wonderful charm of this game. Now back to the task at hand. The main objective is to collect these little black boxes, which are referred to as achievement pickups. Now if you miss any during the game, you can always level select to go back and get them. The pickups are quite easy to obtain and to find, especially if you know that the level you're traversing happens to have one. For those of you that prefer seeing or reading the locations, the walkthrough by Spillner on TrueAchievements.com is a fantastic option containing both embedded videos and written text describing the location. For this podcast, you'll have to check out the show notes, and I'll list each of the locations. The other achievements you will most assuredly unlock during normal gameplay, and those are to bounce on Laura, the horizontal magenta block, 100 times, to die 100 times, jump 1600 times, and to complete the entire game. Now, if you get stuck on any of the puzzles, there are multiple video guides available on YouTube, but the puzzles are quite straightforward, and barring the occasional hiccup, you'll likely be fine just on your own. And that has been this week's Gamerscore Bootcamp. Fantastic. And with that being said, we're going to get close to wrapping up here. I mentioned no knobs and discos. As far as we know, nothing's broken, nothing's fixed. So we'll hopefully come back with some great news next week that Roblox is working. But I'm not holding my breath. As far as zombie news goes, I got a couple of pieces here, not necessarily directly impacting the Xbox community, but DayZ reported that they've been compromised, and some hackers got some, they're calling a security incident, and lost some of the some emails, usernames, passwords, all related to the game's forums. And so if you spend any time playing DayZ, this was all according to NeoGAF and Reddit users. It said they got some emails from the developer, Bohemia, saying you might be at risk. I totally recommend changing some things. So that is super unfortunate. But take care of your information. The other piece of zombie news that I think is more interesting to me is the game H1Z1. When they've confirmed that the console versions are coming out, but prior to doing that, Daybreak said that they're going to split this into 2 separate games. They're calling one H1Z1 Just Survive and H1Z1 King of the Kill. That they're splitting it. They're going to be developed by 2 separate teams. This split is happening in a couple of weeks here on February 17th, and that if you own H1Z1 and they go ahead and do the split, then you can get both of them for an extra $20, and you'll get both games. So each game's going to have its own price, but you can add on. So if you want it after, right, if you're already a purchaser and you want it later, it's going to be double the cost. But it's kind of, they're kind of splitting it. And I don't know what's going to end up happening for the console versions. If they're both going to be on the console, but they did give the thumbs up that Xbox One and PlayStation 4 are coming out, and they've got betas planned. I don't have any dates as to when that stuff's coming out yet, but we'll see. I'm looking forward to probably more the Just Survive, which seems to be the more single player focused experience, the survival part of it. I get the feeling that King of the Kill is more of your multiplayer side of it. But I kind of like the idea of splitting, and that might be that similar thing we talked about a couple weeks ago with Crackdown, where they said Crackdown multiplayer coming out in the summer and weirdly didn't mention single player at all. Is this a trend that we're going to see with games where, at lower cost points, they will offer a multiplayer focused or a single player focused experience and let people, pick with their wallet which they prefer. Call of Duty went ahead and just took out single player in the old school versions and saying that they couldn't keep up with the demands of the hardware. That's probably true to some extent, but my guess is that they also don't care because people don't play the single player campaign. They play it. It could be memorable, right, but everybody spends their time in multiplayer. So it's kind of interesting that Daybreak is doing this. You guys have any thoughts on purposefully splitting games out like what H1Z1 is doing here?
I mean, if you go on Twitch and you go look up H1Z1, 99% of people are only interested in Battle Royale. So I'm not surprised. I'm probably not I wouldn't say I'm an expert by any means on H1Z1 and their structure. But I'm not surprised that games are splitting up. I've talked about this in length in general, my thoughts. I could go on forever probably. I think it makes sense to split up games and put a focus on one or the other. I think a lot of people, back in the day, people looked for a single player and a multiplayer. Right now, people, for the most part, gamers are looking for that one specific thing that they're after. Most people know what that is, and most people are okay with purchasing quote unquote half a game if they know what half they're getting. Yeah, as long as there's the transparency and complete, forwardness and upfrontness with what you're getting and for what you're paying for, and what they plan to continue to do with whatever it is that you're purchasing.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good thing. I know I'm more of a single player kind of guy, so yeah, that said, when there's multiplayer content in some games, it actually puts me off those games, particularly if half the achievement list is multiplayer versus single player in a game that I only want to play in single player. So I can certainly see splitting it up into two like that would be a good thing. You could just pick up the single player portion and completely ignore the multiplayer and not have it as an uncompleted game on your tag.
Yeah, well, I even look at the idea, you've got two teams, right? So let's, if I want to play a game, I'm not going to go to turn 10 and say, make me an awesome hack and slash, right? I want turn 10 to make me an awesome racing game. Same thing. I'm not going to go to Platinum and say, could you guys make a really great racing game? No, go ahead and make your crazy over-the-top fighting game. Like, go with what your strengths are. And so if it's, hey, we can really put together a compelling story that, that can grip you and convey a wonderful experience, that's the team I want working on the single player stuff. And you guys over there who are amazing with matchmaking and network coding and coming up with balanced maps and gunplay, fantastic. You guys work on that multiplayer piece. And, you really tailor your development teams on the expertise that they have. Don't try to do everything because you typically then don't do anything well. Focus on what you can do best.
To be fair, though, many developers actually do that already. They, even for games that are combined, they will
outsource,
basically split out and give the multiplayer component to another team to work on, separate to the single player. I know, I mean, just off the top of my head, the Batman Arkham Origins, for example, they had a multiplayer component that was done by a completely different company and or a different arm of Warner Brothers, I guess. And that was all combined in. So they'll share assets, so like skins and, you know, character models and things like that. But the actual gameplay is done entirely separately in a lot of cases.
That's true. That's true, but I do appreciate the the distinct division between the two, and from their standpoint, I bet it's a great way to monetize, and you again get more. You probably get more data and analytic value out of understanding which games people are spending their money on.
This is true, but I guess the only criticism I'd have of it is if they're going to charge full price then for both of those. If you had another game that has both the multiplayer and the single-player component and you've got it at a $60 price point, that's fine. But if you're then taking the game that you've already announced is one game and then you're splitting into two and then selling both of the halves, so to speak, at the same price point, you begin to question the value proposition for consumers. So that would be my criticism of it. I guess we'd see how it plays out in the end.
Yeah, it wasn't that they were both going to be $60. I think they were both going to be $20.
Okay, well, if they're at a sort of a more budget price point for the supposed half of a game, then that would make more sense. If they were trying to then flog them off at both at $60 price point AAA kind of level, then that would be kind of ridiculous.
Well, isn't Final Fantasy VII Remake doing that? I mean, how expensive are each of those 3 episodes going to be?
Yeah, Square Enix has been like that for a long time. They're always trying to eke as much money out of their franchises as they can, so it doesn't really surprise me too much. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's not unexpected from Square Enix.
So we're giving them a pass?
I'm not giving them a pass. I haven't bought it.
We'll have to wait and see.
Way to vote with your wallet, Terrigan. Well, I think that's about it for our show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We hope you enjoyed it because I loved recording this. And a special thanks again to Patrick Macca for being with us, spending the episode. It was a wonderful interview on the front end. We really appreciate you taking the time. I'm going to give you another opportunity. Plug away because you have some fantastic content out there, and I think all of our listeners, if they haven't already experienced it, they absolutely should because it is a wonderful avenue to be picking up achievements.
Well, thanks so much. Yeah, thanks for having me, of course. I can't reiterate how thankful I am to be invited to shows and stuff like that. So yeah, my name's Patrick Macca. I run a YouTube channel primarily dealing with achievement trophy guides, collectible guides, walkthroughs, reviews, that type of stuff. I try to be informative and straight to the point, not waste your time. You can check me out on youtube.com/Macca91Productions. I stream over at twitch.tv/Macca91Productions. I'm also a regular member of the TXR podcast. And yeah, if you'll find a lot of my solutions on TA as well. So hopefully some of my content becomes useful to you at some point in your gaming life.
Fantastic. And
certainly check out his Patreon as well. I'm personally a Patreon supporter of Macca, so if you like what you see, put some money there.
Yeah, I've actually had a lot of success there, and I'm very thankful to all the people who are supporting me directly. And I've tried to, communicate my sense of gratitude towards those people, and I'm giving away literally like hundreds of dollars of games to those people who are supporting me, and I'm trying not to necessarily use that as a point of the reason you should go there, because I want the people who are going to be there for the reasons they want to be there to have a better chance at winning the stuff I'm giving away. But yeah, I'm giving away a lot of stuff to people, and the support means so much to me, and it's really incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you're not supporting Macca, you should. Other ways you can help support him, us, every show, anything you listen to is reviews, social media, spreading the word. It's a fantastic free way to help us out is simply just talk about it and tell your friends and share the wealth. For our particular podcast, reviews on iTunes, I hear Google Play is up and running now, at least for some select users. Stitcher, wherever you're listening to this podcast, that really helps us out. You can always visit us at our website, zed2zed.com. That's ZEDTOZED. You can go there for our show notes, links, credits, all this fun stuff. And if you didn't have your pen and paper ready, we will put all of Macca's information on there as well.
Thank you so much.
Twitter, fantastic way to get a hold of us. We are at Z2Z. I'll spell it one more time, ZEDTOZED. Our email, contact@zed2zed.com. We have a leaderboard up at TA, trueachievements.com if you want to join, where we can send out private messages to everybody when a new show is available, or, if we take Facial's idea about sending out a mass email to what the content is going to be and open it up for a viewer forum or a listener forum. That's a great place to do it, too. We also have a Facebook group. It is a closed group to keep the riffraff out, but we absolutely will approve absolutely anyone who wants to get in. Quick shout-out to all those sites that help us out and make achievement hunting a reality. We use a lot of trueachievements.com, friends at the Achievement Hounds community and podcast, xboxachievements.com, Macca and his guides,